5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, boys. Welcome to the second podcast of You Can't Handle the Ploof. How's it going?
Yeah, we're doing well, man.
Awesome.
Good. Glad to be here.
Thanks, man. I got my buddy Dave, buddy Jeff today with me. We go way back. Kind of like Matt last week. We go all the way back to when we were kids, like literally little kids.
Yeah,
So
we got to follow the Matt Griffin show. It's gonna be a tall show.
I'm telling you, man. It's some heavy shoes or some big shoes we got to fill, but we're gonna do it.
We're probably gonna trigger a few people today. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it's gonna happen one day, or might as well be today.
That's right. Let's just get straight to it. Liberals.
So,
Just kidding.
we're gonna talk a little politics. We're gonna talk a little bit about where we are, some world events today. Next week, your next podcast is gonna be conspiracy theories and aliens. How can you go wrong with that? And just for that upcoming show, I have my Boba Fett helmet here. I can't go wrong with that. So where do we want to start today, boys?
Are you getting paid by Apple or
Negative.
or Disney to Mandalorian coming up?
Oh, I can't wait, man. You know what? It really sucks that I have to watch that episode after episode. I just can't sit down on a Saturday and just binge watch it. You know?
I'm the same way. Yeah, you got to kind of spread it out, right?
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'll binge watch. I'll work it into 5-6 episodes into a night. I have problems though.
I'm not scared, man. Me and the couch are friends. So I have absolutely no problem laying on the couch and being a miserable fat body. So I'm good, you know?
Yeah, we could see that, man.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I have the computer in front of me today. This is to shield all the incoming views.
Yeah, I really can't talk too much, man. I'm working on this 550 calorie beer right now, so that can't be good for the gut.
I'm telling you, man, as I get older, keeping the weight off is next to impossible. And I belong to a gym, but with COVID going on, you have to use a scheduler through an app. And if you look at the schedule, like the only time I can go is like between 6 and 7 o'clock at night. You know, that's not my time. I'm a morning person. Yeah. So eventually we're going to get there in enough time. So what are you guys drinking today?
I got myself a strawberry milkshake IPA.
Nice.
This Jeremy Cody got me onto these bad boys.
Did he really?
But unfortunately, like I said, they're like 600 calories a piece, so you don't want to have too many of them, or else you'll be passed out in the next like 10 minutes.
So I saw Jeremy a couple weeks ago at in Sturbridge. I was at Burger King, which that beefless Whopper. What do they call that thing? The Impossible Whopper. I can't eat beef, so I eat the Impossible Burger. And all of a sudden, this guy comes out of nowhere, banging on my passenger side window, and it's Jeremy Cody.
No way.
Yeah, it scared the living shit out of me. I'll tell you that.
By the way, how was the Impossible Burger?
It's absolutely phenomenal.
Does it taste like actual meat?
It does.
I've tried one.
Did you like it?
I don't want to try one, man.
I tried one at a food show, is where I work.
Is it?
but
It's
yeah,
fake meat. Like, what are the ingredients?
No idea, but it tasted real and it was weird. I was like, this is weird because it tastes like beef, and I knew it wasn't.
So it really does taste like beef?
I swear to you. So I had to quit eating beef years ago when I developed a really bad stomach issue, and one of the first things the doctor told me is you got to cut out meat, beef in general. No steak tips, none of that kind of stuff. And I wasn't a real big beef eater to begin with, but that's what got me sick. And so your body apparently has a tough time processing beef. So once I got rid of beef and fast food for the most part, I still indulge every once in a while, obviously, but I got turned on to the
once in a while. Come on.
I don't know what you're talking about. So somebody turned me on to Beyond Beef, and I was like, come on, what is this thing going to taste like? Sure enough, I go buy one, bring it home. So not only does it smell like beef, it cooks like beef, it bleeds like beef. It was unreal. And it tastes just like beef. So, I really don't miss the beef all that much. Although I think steak tips were I was a big fan of steak tips for like a long time. Um, but
So can we get back to what the ingredients are, because this is what scares me.
I used to know what it is.
Actually in this thing, and can you
A
pronounce?
lot of sodium.
A lot
Yeah.
of sodium.
There's a lot of soy protein concentrate,
Soy protein.
sunflower oil, coconut oil, potato protein, yeast extracts, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Food
A whole bunch of additives that you've never heard of,
Right.
grown in some chemical lab.
Love it.
somewhere.
Speaking of beef, what I'm drinking is, I think Jeff gave me this because I was coming in on 2 wheels and I didn't have time to grab beer, but I think this one's a meal replacement beer because I think it's got to be at least 2,000 calories. So putting the beef on after drinking this thing. So
Absolutely.
Clown Shoes, it's delicious though. I don't know, I've never had it. Berry blend IPA. Tastes like juice.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you guys know I don't really drink at all for the most part, but today I decided to have some apple Crown Royal.
Delicious.
Jeff will
It
be
is.
passed out in 20 minutes.
Yeah, so this podcast ought to be great. You guys might have to take over halfway through. That's why the spot's cleared over here. I can just put my head down and go to sleep.
This may turn into the Alien podcast in the next 10 minutes.
Is there Uber drivers in Palmer?
Every once in a while, there's one guy that he'll come around to help us out.
Speaking of Palm, I was driving. I haven't driven Route 20 in a long time. Is the Magic Lantern still open?
It's still open.
Are you kidding me?
Yep, got to wear a mask, but it's good to go.
What time does this get over?
I think they got different owners though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think they just got bought out.
It's not about the owners.
But I will tell you, the food truck out front is appealing.
Oh,
Yeah, he puts a sign out there.
Fried clams?
Yeah. I don't know what's in that thing, but I almost stopped a few times. So, where do you guys want to start?
oh, where do you want to start?
It's a crazy world right now, my friend.
Yeah, hey, you want to know what's funny? So you guys were talking about last week, towards the end of the podcast. Griffin brought up some of the the music that he grew up on. You guys were talking about some like Public Enemy.
Yep.
And it's funny because when you guys got done talking about that, I was like, who influenced me to think the way I do? And I think back, and I grew up on Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy, NWA. All these types of groups that were just basically anti-FU to the establishment and to, government entities in general. And, that's really, really when I look back, it really has focused me on how I view the world. And it's pretty interesting. Like, my wife thinks I'm insane, but...
Yeah.
But, I mean, it really, like, that type of music did influence me to this day. Like, I still listen to it.
Sure.
But it really makes you question, and don't be afraid to question authority. Don't be afraid to question what your politicians are doing, what your so-called leaders are doing, because if you don't start to question that, I mean, they're going to run right over your face. And that's what happened to the middle class, in my opinion, over the past 10, 15 years is they're the ones in charge when in reality, you vote these people in, you pay their salaries. You're actually the one in charge. And I think it's disturbing what I'm seeing today in society, where I'm seeing people kind of just sit back and let these so-called leaders tell them where to go, how to, it's at the point where you're going to do what we tell you to do, when to do it, what time to do it. It's disgusting, man. This is not communist China.
Yeah.
And, I'm just seeing kind of things go in a very strange direction over the past, that it's not even just since, the past 4 years, but I mean, COVID really started this whole thing. It opened up a can of worms. It opened up Dave's eyes to what's going on, kind of the schools. Yeah. And I think that's probably more disturbing is like when you see school systems basically telling you, hey, while we're teaching your kids at home, I think you should leave the room. That raises a red flag to me. I think Dave can speak to a little bit more than I can.
Yeah, you said eye opener. I mean, Jeff, Dad used to, so when my kids were young, he used to pound me with get your kids out before they start, get them out of public school. Do not put them in public school. They're gonna fill them with blah blah blah. And I used to roll my eyes and go, yeah, whatever, Dad. Like okay. And I tell you, so when they announced that, my town is going fully remote, I was upset about it because, regardless of how you feel about COVID, I live in a really small town, 10,000 people or less, and we've had well under 100 cases. I don't even know if it's more than 50, to be honest with you. I don't know the fact. Maybe you can, Spencer Mass, look that up. But regardless, so I was like, what the heck? And the town next to us is going hybrid. But I tell you, it was an eye-opener, and I'm kind of like glad now that I'm seeing it, because I get to listen in. I'm fortunate enough where I can work at home. I can't spend a lot of time with the kids, the time that they need. But when I'm sitting at my table and I hear the teacher start talking about Trump and Biden and how important the race is, so I go, oh, what is she talking about? And he's 12, and during social studies class, and watching the teacher literally get worked up, rubbing her hands through her hair, and she had to hold constraint. And a lot of other things too. Science class, bringing up social injustices during a science project, and the English teacher with a Biden flag in the background. Now, I don't care if you're voting for Biden or Trump. I think it would be appropriate either way for 10 and 12-year-old kids to be, you're there to learn.
Right.
I don't know what's supposed to be taught in 7th grade science, maybe like cells of the body or whatever, but it probably shouldn't be about Trump and Biden, right?
Yeah, well, we certainly didn't talk about that kind of stuff in school. As a matter of fact, I can remember trying to get a little political with some of my teachers, and they were like putting the brakes on that it's not in the curriculum. We're if you want to have that discussion in social studies, maybe, but certainly not in my science class or my math class or, a shop class,
Yeah, it's really like, got me to question a lot of stuff with their teaching and the curriculum, and it's made me now go to the school. And I know I'm not alone, because I have a lot of parents that speak to me at the schools, pretty disturbed stuff they're hearing too. And, and I basically, I've asked for the curriculum. I want to see what they're reading. I want to see what they're learning about. And I think it's important, because now it's kind of opened up my eyes of, what they're teaching kids. Honestly, I just don't think it's appropriate at this age level. So
yeah, well, it's really important too. I didn't mean to cut you off. To be involved, you know what I mean? Like, especially nowadays, there's both parents are working. There's so much outside distraction, and I can remember when my kids were young. Once I caught on to a few things, I was like, wait a minute, I'm seeing some weird stuff here. And like especially with my daughter, I had to go to school one time and have a conversation with her teacher, and thank God her teacher was very open-minded and up for some constructive criticism, because I went in there and I was a little upset, and then when I said what I had to say, she's like, I get it. I think I overstepped my bounds a little bit there, and I can appreciate that. I can work with somebody who's like that, because my thing is, and I discussed this with Matt. The reason why I started this podcast was we saw this like off the cliff reaction with people when you have a difference of opinion. And next thing you know, like if you meet somebody for the first time, you have this connection, right? And then, shortly down the road, you find out they're on the left or the right, and then all of a sudden, you don't want nothing to do with them anymore. And I think that's unfair, because I think we all have the same basic wants and needs. We just have a different way of getting to that end point. So when I have conversations with people, I don't really care what end of the spectrum they're on. I just want to kind of, I'm very curious to find out how they got there.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. What I think Facebook and Twitter has destroyed the ability to actually have these conversations.
Right.
Because I think most people out there that see me post on Facebook think, oh, Jeff's some sort of crazy, super conservative, right-wing Republican. And I'm not. I voted for Obama.
So hold on one second before everybody gets confused. We're both Jeffs.
But I voted for Obama. And the reason I voted for Obama is because I thought John McCain was just kind of a warmonger, and he was owned by the military-industrial complex, and he proven himself to be a person that I didn't want running the country, because I thought our country was involved in too many wars as it is, especially coming from post 2000, post 9/11. The Iraq wars, the Afghanistan war. I was like, man, I saw this guy Obama. I like what he's saying. He's talking about hope and change. Yep. And then it was more of the same when he got in. So then I was like, I can't vote for this guy. So I got to move on to the next guy. And I think it's crazy right now to see like the type of propaganda that's out there. And it's either you're on the left or you're on the right. And I think that's the problem. People are afraid to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
people are afraid to give their opinion at this point on where they stand, and I think that's a big problem. Things like this are fantastic because I think this can actually start the conversation where you can bring other people in with differentiating opinions, and we can have a conversation about what's actually happening and what the real root problem is. I think
Right.
when we come down to it, we'll all agree, like, hey, there are things that need to change. I think Black Lives Matter movement. You mentioned that they brought it up in the school, or they were bringing
The
up
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we would all agree that there's nothing wrong with the ideology of the Black Lives Matter movement. The ideology is there's clearly a two-tier justice system in this country, and I don't think that there's anybody out there that would disagree with that. I mean, you see politicians, the rich, big corporations can literally do whatever they want. J.P. Morgan just got caught for rigging trillions of dollars in the precious metals industry. They've made billions and billions of dollars off of this, doing this. They got fined $1 billion. Nobody's going to jail.
Yep.
Everybody's just fine.
Yep.
But they just get a slap on the wrist. They get to pay and they move on. And I think that's a big problem in this country is that we all agree that there's a problem within the justice system. And I think that there's a separate issue here, which is the Black Lives Matter organization, which is headed up by Marxist, self-proclaimed Marxist and communist. That's her words, not mine. So and they're morphing, and that confuses the whole argument, and that's the problem. They need to separate the two.
Right.
You're the organization, but here's the movement, because the movement is for the right is 100% right. We need to see the justice system one tier for everybody. The laws apply to everybody, but that's not the case today.
One thing you brought up at the beginning of that, Facebook, Instagram, whatever there is, Twitter, people are lazy.
No one wants to do the work.
Dude, clickbait articles it's amazing. Like, I fell for it in the beginning. I ain't gonna lie. I looked at the headline, you get all worked up, and then you post it, and then you read the article, like, oh, crap. Like, I probably shouldn't have posted that, delete. And I see it every day. People are posting these articles. They don't actually read it. It's like a crazy headline that makes you think something, and then everybody's, like, commenting, and I'm like, hey, guys, did you actually open up the article and read it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing how many of those are all over Facebook, and it's just pure laziness of people not willing to take the time to actually open it up, read, educate themselves. And I learned a lesson, and now I don't do that anymore. For the most part, I'll try to, before I go in and post something, I try to research it, find
Right.
out what the heck I'm talking about before I look like an idiot. So it's
Yeah.
there is a lot of that out there that's very manipulative by the social media platforms.
And that's true. And that's why I really take, like, if I post something, again, that I get embarrassed about later on,
Yeah.
I take that to heart. Like, I should have known better.
Should have known better.
I should have done my due diligence to go back and research that, right? Because you're right. We have a systemic issue in this country where, especially minorities in this country, have been unfairly targeted, right? And we see it. Go to court and watch how the court proceedings go. This whole police brutality thing, I definitely think there's an issue with that. But these laws that we have to that constantly get dumped on us, if you have a friend in law enforcement, ask them to show you their law book. It's like this thick. The average person, I forget what they say, we break like 7 laws a week, just on accident, not even on purpose. So we should be looking at our people making the laws in this country and who are supposed to represent us in Congress, and these get passed down.
And this brings me to my point earlier, which is we are looking at the people that are making these laws, specifically Congress, and we're putting them on a pedestal that's insane. Like, these people are power hungry, and they're literally producing all kinds of propaganda to basically take the focus off of them and create division within the country. Basically, again, bringing it back to the left and to the right. They want to keep you separated because if you ever unite, those people in power are pretty much screwed.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And this whole thing with the masks and stuff, at the end of the day, I don't mind wearing the mask, especially if it's going to help
I hate
somebody
wearing
out.
the mask.
I mean, I don't like it one bit. And with everything that's going on now, you can't see people smile. You can't see, you can't have that human interaction. And so compound with all the stuff that we're going through now, it's just, sometimes I go to sleep at night and I go, I hope tomorrow when I wake up, this was just a really bad dream. And, you know,
Jeff, you want to know where I have a hard time with the masks? It's not wearing it. It's the confusion behind it.
right.
I does it help? Does it not help? I'm watching the NBA players. Like, this is where I'm like, I feel like since COVID started, like, there's been a severe lack of common sense from our leaders, from the medical fields down to us. And that's where I have trouble when I start talking to people, because if it doesn't have common sense, I lose my patience.
Right.
And I'm watching the NBA, and I got like, all right, so I get these thoughts in my head sometimes, like, all right, masks are important. But then I'm watching the NBA, they're sweating up against each other, breathing in each other's face, guarding, playing hard, and then they go social distance on the bench, they can't be near each other. Where the hell's the common sense of that? you got the coaches on the sidelines, in the classroom, watching films, practice on the fields, getting tested every day, and then they're getting fined for not wearing a mask.
Right.
It's absolute just like a lack of common sense, and it makes me immediately go, masks don't work. That's just stupid.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let me try to verbalize this. Masks don't work. and listen, if they did work, you would see NFL fans right? If they did work, why wouldn't we be able to put NFL fans in the stands for NFL football games?
I've asked myself that question: is it control? Is it you got 80,000 people?
Yeah, well,
enforce it all.
If they work,
if
they work, you would be able to go wherever you want. But they don't work, and that's the thing. They don't work. Everybody knows they don't work. Anybody pretending that so I've seen an argument on Facebook, and it drives me crazy. This sets me off because just goes back to the propaganda that people buy into. If they produce enough fear for you, you actually buy into the shit. And I hope people start to wake up to what is propaganda and what's not propaganda. And once people start waking up to what propaganda is, then they'll be able to understand what the truth is and what's not true. Because there's so much propaganda in the media today, it's out of control. So I watched somebody put on Facebook basically, I think it's the right thing. You're selfish if you don't wear the mask. And then they followed it up with, if it's right for basically, if it's used in a surgical, if surgeons are able to use them and keep them safe, then why wouldn't you? Well, I have news for people. A surgical setting is very different than Walmart. A surgical setting is very different than you walking down an aisle in Home Depot. I mean, the level of cleanliness and debris,
droplets.
It's insane. And then I ask people. I said, listen, just do me a favor. Send me the study that says that these masks prevent droplets from coming through the masks. Whether it's influenza, pneumonia, I know it doesn't exist because I've already seen the studies. So, but I ask people, send it to me, and they will not send me a link because it doesn't exist. But what they will do is they'll basically attack you, and they'll call you just you're a Trumpster, you're a denier. And this is the problem in society, is that when people can't back up their opinion with facts, they immediately move on to attacking people. And this is where people, in my opinion, are so brainwashed these days with propaganda. It drives me insane. And I just wish people understand. I don't care who you vote for. I really don't. I don't care what positions you like, because everybody has different political points of view. I'm the type to argue. My wife's like, man, you just argue with everybody over everything. I'm like, I'm a sales guy.
Yeah.
I want to win. Like, that's my job, is to win. You know what I mean? That's what we do. But at the end of the day, like, I just wish people would be able to recognize what's propaganda and what's not propaganda. And I don't think a lot of people have any idea what propaganda is.
I just want common sense back.
Yeah.
I don't even care if you wear a mask indoors, but can we not wear them outdoors? That's it. I just want common sense back.
With the exception of somebody who's immune
Compromise.
No one's going to argue that point that, especially, when I see people in the car and they're wearing their mask,
Common sense.
if they're immune compromised, that's one thing.
What if they caught COVID from themselves?
You just went down a rabbit hole, my friend.
You never thought of that.
No. So, I guess one of my big worries too is what's going to happen because of this. So we look at 9/11, right? And we see the Patriot Act. That bad boy was just cooking somewhere and simmering to come out. Boom, here we go. We all know all the things they took from us. So now they can search our emails. They can do all these things that you normally wouldn't do. I just had this argument with somebody the other day.
So that brings me back to propaganda. And that brings me back to, listen, I'm going to tell you something. So my brother and I, we were together the day 9/11 happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. And what the government did is they took that tragedy and they took that crisis and never let a crisis go to waste. That's that is the saying in DC that people don't understand. So they take a crisis just like COVID, and they're using it to bend the laws, to bend the Constitution, to chip away a little piece of the Constitution here, chip a little piece of the Constitution there, and people are willing to put up with it because, quote unquote, for safety.
The illusion of safety.
And it's actually disgusts me. It disgusts me that people don't have respect for their own civil rights anymore, their own civil liberties. They don't. They have
the march in the street for those years ago.
They don't even. I don't think even people understand civil liberties until they lose it. They will understand then.
Well, the problem with that is let's say obviously I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment, and I just want to clear something up too. So I'm a registered Democrat. Okay. I voted for Obama twice, and then I started to see things that I didn't like, and so now I'm gonna shortly I'll be an independent, and I started to question things on both sides. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I keep bumping this. Something doesn't make any sense here, and that's when I started to really force myself to do the work and look at what it really is, and because if I rely just on mainstream media, I get sucked into that wormhole in 2 seconds flat.
The question I have for you is, do you think that most people out there understand that the majority of mainstream media is just propaganda? Do you believe honestly?
No, they don't know.
No.
I think they'll say it, but they still listen and buy into it.
Yeah. I mean, I watch it to get little tidbits of information. Because every once in a while they'll throw something out there, then you're like, that's not right. And then you go do the work and you realize that just got muddied in some pond somewhere. And so my fear now is, going back, I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I love the fact when I hear people say, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. That's my favorite quote of all the time, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
No problem.
It drives me insane, man.
And so I said to them, well, okay, so let's say every day at 5 o'clock, someone knocks on your door and says, all right, I need your cell phone, I need all your mail, and I want to go rifle through all your drawers in your dresser. You would look at that person in 2 seconds flat, go tell them to fuck right off. Yet we let them do that every single day through our phones, through our metadata, and what could go wrong with that, right? And I always tell them it's not about right now. It's about these things are saved for a future. And you could say one wrong word, and next thing you know, you're on some kind of list. Justin, do me a favor. Punch up what the FBI says is a domestic terrorist.
Here's the funny part about it. Most people don't believe, like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory that you're going to end up on some sort of list. Dude, and this is the ignorance of people that don't actually know what's going on with their government. They don't know because you want to know why? Because they're distracted with, are you left or are you right? And this is my whole point of earlier is if people would understand what's really propaganda, what's really important. Let's all agree on the important stuff, okay? Listen. Calling Trump every time Trump speaks, calling him a Hitler is that does nothing for anybody. I mean, it's just calling people names. Every time Biden touches a little kid, calling him a pedophile. I mean, I listen. We get it. It's a lot. There's a lot of funny looking memes out there, but and it's a little disturbing too at the same time. But it
Childish.
it's
Yeah, a little bit.
listen. I'm childish sometimes, man.
Yeah.
I laugh at
Yeah,
some
I
of
buy
it,
it, yeah.
but at the same time, man, like I mean, people need to separate the truth from the fact, the propaganda from what's really going on, and I don't think a lot of people are capable, man. They just want to be part of a group, and they want to be on the right side, even if the right side is wrong. Like even if it's lies, and they know it's lies. They're just like, oh, well, I have to be on this side.
Yep.
So.
V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
It's
That
like
was a
they do.
great movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
And I tell people, so as we have these conversations, audio's peaking a little bit there. If anybody disagrees with anything that we're talking about here, you are more than free to come on the podcast and have that conversation. This is a safe place. It's an open forum. I certainly don't judge. But I think conversation is great and conversation is healthy. Back in the day, like when our parents were growing up, I had some really crazy conversations with your dad when we were young. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the stuff that he said back then is coming true right now. So, I mean,
I've learned my lesson, Jeff.
He was
I'm just starting to listen now. So,
he was definitely ahead of his time. And, so when I have these conversations and, people get hostile or when I see two people being that way, again, this is the point of the show. The show is to bring people together and we start talking about all sorts of things. We're going to have a friend on and I'll explain who that is later on after the show, who was addicted to drugs for a long time. He's going to come on. I'm going to have my chiropractor on. We're going to have different people from different genres, different ends of the spectrum.
Let me
ask you, Jeff. You said you're been a registered Democrat. How long were you a registered Democrat for?
So since I was 19 years old.
So your whole adult life. I don't know which way you lean politically now. It's probably irrelevant for this question, but what is your thoughts on Donald Trump as far as because all you hear in the media, it doesn't matter. You get the Project Veritas stuff that shows you, and some people are like, "Oh, that's all fake." But I don't know. It's someone with a mic listening to real people. Like It's not fake. It's as real as it gets, right?
Yeah.
Live camera.
Yeah, live camera showing you that the CNN is like making him out to be a monster. Whatever. We know that Donald Trump is off the cuffs crazy when he talks on Twitter. But for me, I love it. But do you think he's a racist? Do you think he's a womanizer? Do you think he's all the stuff that you do never stop hearing? Do you think he wants to destroy our foreign relationships with our union there? What do you call it? The NATO and stuff like that. Do you really believe that stuff that you hear on an everyday pound? It never stops.
From a perspective of his tweets, I got to tell you, they're great to watch. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? Like, I read those and the first thing I think is, what the fuck
Can I
is
just say one thing about the tweets? If he gets elected again, the gloves are off because there's no reason for him to like hold back at that point.
I'll let you.
Well, yeah, let him answer that question.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this one thing about the tweets is this is what people have been talking about for years about how political speak. Oh, they're just liars, politics. If you took a poll before Donald Trump took office, 90%, 99% of people would be like, yeah, I don't believe anything. They're just lie. Every time a politician speaks, they're just lying. Well, you finally got a guy up there that's kind of speaking his mind. Okay, like I would prefer that. And there's some things that are offensive to you, but at the end of the day, like give me that all day over than fake people that are just people want their ego stroked. Why? Give me the truth. Give me your take, dude. I want real people in there. I'm just gonna go off on a tangent. But
I'd like to get Jeff's perspective.
Yes.
He was like definitely on the other side of the aisle. Your whole
I was.
forever.
I'm a big person who loves to. I want to see people do better. So we'll go back to Bush. I was telling Jeff earlier today. I remember when we went after we were in Iraq. And it was weapons of mass destruction, weapons. You couldn't turn anything on So this was being drilled in our heads over and over and over
WMD.
again, right? So, you thought we would have learned our lesson from Vietnam and post wars, and I'm not a warmonger, and I think that especially what we see now with terrorism and all that kind of things, we breed some of that out there. Like when ISIS, or it wasn't ISIS, it was Al Qaeda, was going against the Russians. Well, next thing you know, then now we supply Al Qaeda to go after the Russians, and now the Al Qaeda's our enemies. We stick our hands into too many things, I think. But going back to that war, so when we devastate other countries and we just obliviate everything that, I mean, it takes years and years and years to rebuild another country. So I think we have to take that seriously. And we're not really good at rebuilding things. We're not good at taking care of what we did. Now, obviously, there's been times where war is justified, but especially if I'm going to have somebody, because I'm not going to war. I'm not at the front lines. So if I'm going to have somebody go and put their life on the line, I want that to be just. I want them to be, and you've been in the military. If I can't even begin to tell you my gratitude for someone like you who takes that place and goes and does the things that you have to do. Again, so if I ask you to do that, I want that war to be just. And so we started to see, now I voted for Obama twice. Okay. And the first time I remember sitting on my couch, and this is no lie, I was crying during his speech when he got elected that night. I was thinking, man, this is the John F. Kennedy of my era. Hope and change, man. Right? I remember waking my wife out of bed going, I experienced something I've never experienced tonight. And I was so happy. Well, as time goes on and I start doing work and I start seeing that things aren't right, we go from 2 wars to 7 wars. We drone the shit out of people. And when we drone somebody, well, one person we're looking for, we drone like, I don't know what the number is, Justin, but can you look that up? When you do a drone attack, what's the collateral damage on that? And again, we start breeding dissension in other countries of what people look at us like. And we're not like that. We're not all like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, if people want to go back, and I fell for it. I fell for the propaganda, but it woke me up.
Right.
I think that's what really woke me up is the propaganda. So if everybody remembers back then, we were my brother. I remember the day 9/11 happened. My brother would grab his Air National Guard gear and was like, "I'm ready to go, man!
Yep.
Like, let's just do it." And but that's the way all Americans felt, man. But what's interesting, it brought the country together. And at the same time, it was an opportunity that they took to basically say, great time to take advantage of this crisis. So what they did was they put on the airways, WMD, WMD, WMD. You can literally pick up a YouTube video, do a search on a YouTube video, and you could see how many times they said the word WMD in a day. We were all scared to death that Iraq was going to attack the U.S. next with WMD.
Or even a dirty
Lies.
bomb. Even a dirty bomb. They were talking about dirty bombs.
I don't know propaganda, but now you look back, you should be able to. I recognize all propaganda now today. I hope more people out there start to recognize what's being used, especially right now with COVID. It's being used as propaganda, and it's being used for specific agendas, which we could do a whole different show on what the agendas really are for COVID. But it's disturbing, man.
So, real quick I was never, didn't care about this stuff we're talking about when I was in the military. I was young.
Sure.
It's like, I don't know, 20 years old, whatever the hell age I was young.
Yep.
And like Jeff said, we were together in our apartment. We're like, holy shit, it's nuts. And I heard Bush's speech, right? And I was like, dude, I will run through a wall for this man right now.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was no hero. I was in the Air Force, but whatever. I did my job. And I will tell you, that's when it opened up my eyes, was when I started questioning stuff, because I was close enough to the action where the base I was at. I was right in Jordan on the border of Iraq, watching the Iraqis come in with oil tankers, and then they stopped, and we were in a forward operating base. And I don't know, I was there for a while and just started to just kind of put the pieces together, like, where's the WMD, man? It's been months. And then you start to hear the news reports that maybe they're, and I honestly, I got disgusted that I was like, I felt like almost embarrassed that we were there, like just destroying everything. And I loved being in the military, and I would recommend. I actually think everyone should have to join the military for minimum 2 years. I
Sure.
think that's the way it should go. But regardless, that experience is when I came home from that. I was like, I don't believe any of these guys.
Yep.
I don't believe any of it.
Yep.
You know, and God bless all those guys that went over there and fought and did their job. But I mean, it's amazing what the position they'll put our people in to,
Yeah.
you know, to
which
yeah.
come full circle.
But I want to say one thing. I think we got on a little tangent. What do you think of Donald Trump on the mainstream media?
Let me go back.
I think that brings it full circle, right back to Trump.
Right. Well, let me go back a little bit too. So, because me, it gets a little more compounded. So, we talk about the housing market, right? He bails out all these banks. 5 million people get kicked out of their homes.
Who does? Obama. Okay. Yep.
So this is just a progression of things that I'm starting to see, right?
Understand it.
And again, I'm for bettering people. I'm not for welfare so much. Obviously the people who need it's there, but I'm also for giving people the tools to better themselves. We kick 5 million people out of their homes. Who goes to jail for giving people predatory loans? If I gave you a loan and I cheated you, I'm going to go to jail for that. So I started to see how the judicial system worked and how unfair that was and how people got away with absolute, literally murder. And that was my turning point. And I started to dig in. So then we have ISIS, right? We have these nasty videos where people are getting their heads cut off, being burned alive, right? That went on for quite some time to a point where I'm like, when is this going to stop? What are we going to do about this? And didn't seem like we were doing much of anything, right? The generals that wanted to go in there and take care of those things, they weren't given the go-ahead to go take care of that. Imagine, I'm over here. I don't really have to worry about them, really. But the people that are over there are suffering daily because of this. Trump comes into office. You don't hear anything more about ISIS anymore.
Honestly,
goodbye.
Over.
It was honestly like, I think because when Trump got elected, I voted for Trump, and but I still wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know about this guy yet. That was a huge when ISIS, when he dropped the Moab, and he was like, I'm not having this. Go in there and do your job.
Yep.
I was like, dude, people, like, what's been going on the last 2 years? We're watching all this territory that Americans fought for this crap hole of a country in Iraq and Syria and everywhere else.
Yep.
And it all just went away to ISIS, and Obama did nothing, and Trump went in there and cleaned it up in I don't know, 60 days maybe
Yeah.
shorter.
It was less than 3
whatever
months.
it was, like, just proves to you, like, it wasn't like it took Trump to do it, but it's not like Trump did it. It's just the leader before him didn't have the whatever his reasoning was behind it. He didn't have the guts or the ambition, or there was something behind why wouldn't you go do that. And I was amazed by it. I was like, oh my God, this guy just went in there and said, hey, enough is enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was talking to a family member of mine a little while ago on Facebook, and it was a little bit of a back and forth, and she was upset that all these kind of black ops guys were taking protesters off the street, shoving them in a van, and then taking off, right? I said that's from the NDAA. They were given the rights to take people off the streets like that with no due process, hold them indefinitely. And it's like, no one understands that. No one, they're like, what? The NDAA? Well, Bush signed that. Sure he did. But it also expired under Obama. He re-signed it into law and then put in words like Americans in there. So her point was that, well, Trump's using it. Well, no shit, he's going to use it. You're going to get mad at the guy because you gave him the keys to the Ferrari? He's going to drive it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, when we have anarchy, and what we said before, I'm without a doubt, when somebody who's a minority is being unfairly punished, unjustly targeted, I am all for them, and I will stick up for them. I will do whatever I can to make sure that is a balance. But when you start burning things, stealing things, blocking streets of people who have, well, actually, people who might actually be with you, you slowly start to turn the knob the other way, and you slowly start to degrade what you're doing.
Well,
And
you're seeing minority businesses being destroyed in minority areas. Like, wait, we're defeating the purpose of
Right.
what the movement's about. But
It's hard to jump on a movement when you're seeing the violence. It really is.
Right.
You know, and
it is.
and again, I think you could do a whole show on Antifa and the intertwining of Antifa and the BLM.
well, what I got to be honest with you.
I just want to make sure you're very clear. The BLM organization, again, I'll just repeat it, is very different than the BLM movement, and the two are very separate. And so it's funny because the BLM movement and Antifa are basically intertwined. They're doing the same thing. They're destroying everything. They're destroying minority businesses. Like what? They're not going into rich neighborhoods and destroying those. Well, that might be next, but they're destroying. They're
destroying everything. Jeff.
Everything.
Wherever they go, they're just So
it's unbelievable.
Let me ask you this, because this is actually like, I have a 10 and a 12-year-old, so I kind of like think about what things will look like for them and how they look at TV and what their perspective is of stuff. And Jeff Abel's in the Air Force, so he's an adult at least. Your child's an adult at this point, and that video you sent in a text message the other day. I think Jeff, you were on it with the militia in the streets. I look at that and say that's awesome, but I also go, holy shit, that's scary.
That's all at the same time.
Dude, it's because I'm like, thank you for somebody standing up for what's right, but at the same time, holy shit, we're there where we need freaking militia in the street. And by the way, those guys, I don't think you want to fuck with those guys. Like,
No.
And by the way, and I don't think they're there for like, they're not there to be like, oh, I got my AK, or that's not their agenda. They're like, you just murdered 2 police officers that were in their police cars, like
minding their
we
own
are
business.
going to we are going to protect our people now. And by the way, businesses, that's a big part of it. Like, they are literally, the militias are going out in the streets now. You don't see it on the news a lot, but you can find it. They are doing it. They just don't want to show us it. They're in the streets like, we're not letting you burn these places down to the ground anymore. And I think it's pretty scary because I think we got our election coming up. And man, I'm telling you, man, I think it's gonna be an interesting.
Well, they just told
it's gonna be scary.
They just told Biden not to succeed under any circumstances at all.
But why is the narrative that Trump won't? Like it's like everywhere you.
Yeah.
They don't ask Biden. They literally will not ask him that question though.
I don't. I can't. And that's the whole media manipulation. I can't understand the fact that, and I see it every day on Facebook. People are like, oh, look at Trump won't peacefully, whatever their talking points. It's the same talking point in every article and every politician.
2 stories came out yesterday. 2 stories. One in Pennsylvania, where they found a ton of absentee ballots.
It actually wasn't ended up being as much as they first thought. But the reality is we know it's an issue.
Right,
Yeah.
and then there was a second story, and I believe it was Wisconsin, where there was an issue with these mail-in ballots.
This election set up to fail. It
Listen,
really is.
listen,
There's no ifs, ands, or buts
listen,
on either side.
Again, I think it's you cannot deny, if you use a little bit of logic, a little bit of common sense, step away from your party affiliation, and just say, hey, I'm going to use a little bit of logic and common sense today. It's pretty obvious that this election is being set up for complete chaos. And it's going to go to the courts. It's insane. We already know it. That's the thing. We already know this because they're projecting it. They want this.
Right.
And when I say they, it's the left. Let's not mince words here. They want Trump out no matter what, and they've made that very clear. And this is disturbing to me, who is someone that I take the Constitution very seriously. Again, I've made it very clear. I voted for Obama. I'm an independent. I just value the Constitution. You may not like Trump, but here's the one thing I love about Trump, and I think people should actually think about this. You have 4 years without war. And then I think this is where you're going with your answer to Dave's question,
Right.
was 4 years without war. Think about it. He actually is up for the Nobel Peace Prize, not once, but twice. It's not talked about in the media. Why? This guy was a Democrat for years. He's more of a liberal than he is even a Republican. But in this, it's just disgusting in this country where if you don't pick a side, you're not going to get voted in. So anyway, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, here's a fact: 4 years with peace, right? No new wars. We're bringing troops home. We're ending wars.
Fact.
That's
Fact.
it. What,
It is.
and as someone that has my stepson, who I love very much, is in the Air Force, I don't want him to end up in a situation where he's going to war just because of an oil takeover in the Middle East. Like,
It's all about the natural
listen,
resources.
if our country gets attacked, if we have a Pearl Harbor, game on.
Yep.
That's one thing. But if it's to enrich the corporations, which I believe like that's all Iraq was about, then no, man, what are we doing? So this is why he's really being attacked. And I wish people would open their eyes, stop looking at the propaganda,
Facts.
and look at the facts.
Yep.
It maybe you don't like the fact that he's pro-life. Maybe you don't like the fact that he's did some other policies. But here's the fact: everybody should be able to get behind this one. He's not pro-war, and he's proved it. So I mean, that's the big thing for me. It's a big thing for my wife and my family is that
Jeff, he's pro-America.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
like,
the thing. What is,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak
no.
over you, Jeff. but-
It's, I think you just nailed it. Like
Yeah.
pro-America, right? Why do I have to feel guilty that I like my country?
Yeah, I sure the hell don't. I'm not even
There's-
try to.
I mean, listen, the reality is there's some things I don't like about my country, right? But there's a lot of things that I like.
I hate the fact that we have fake beef.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
But the fact of the matter is, I have to pick a side. I don't want to pick a side. I want to be able to look at Biden and say there's certain things or a lot of things I don't like about you. Let me ask you a question. We have somebody like Gabbard. Phenomenally smart.
Love Tulsi Gabbard.
Absolutely
I would vote for-
intelligent, yep.
Honestly, I don't know if I'd vote for Trump. It doesn't matter, but I liked her. She
Right.
would, and by the way, she would have gave him a run for the money.
Absolutely. But they don't want that.
Wait, according to the Democrats and Hillary Clinton, she's a Russian spy.
Oh, so that I was just going to bring Russia up, right? So Russia, I swear to God, I never laughed more in my life when Russia came up.
That's a true story. So anybody that's a threat to the military-industrial complex and a threat to peace, which Trump is, and that's what people don't understand. Trump is a threat to peace. That's disgusting. People don't understand that. Tulsi Gabbard, when she was running, she's got a ton of followers.
Oh, she does.
She's got. I love Tulsi Gabbard.
Smart
I
as
think
a whip.
She's fantastic.
Smart as a whip.
But guess what? She's pro-peace.
Can I
Right.
make a quick suggestion?
Right, absolutely.
Like, the Staples Easy button?
Yeah.
You should have one that just goes Russia, Russia, Russia.
And they hang on that.
She is a Russian spy.
Well, that's when okay, it was one thing to talk about Trump have Russia collusion, and I had trouble going to sleep sometimes. Like this is really a thing, and then they start talking about her being connected with the Russians, and they even tried that with Bernie.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Okay, so
They're two best candidates.
so how long are you going to use that excuse? First of all,
Well,
and
no. How long are people going to fall for?
well,
it?
that's
Actually believe it?
as long
That's what
as
drives
they
me.
keep spewing it.
Oh
That's
my
the
God.
problem.
I flipped on HBO the other day because I got some free subscription going on right now. But anyways, and I didn't even know what I was watching. I was like on my laptop and I'm like kind of listening to TV, and it was literally a like mini series on how Trump was like a Russian spy. And this is like from HBO. I'm like, the hell? People are watching it? I had to shut it off, but I was like, it's hilarious at this point. Like, I can't even take anybody serious at this point if they literally could look you in the eye and be like, they believe that. I'm like,
Yeah.
really, man? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be that. Like,
Gullible.
like,
Brainwashed.
did you eat lead when you were a kid? Like, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, don't even get me started on the flood
Yeah.
water crisis. I mean, I was just watching a whole bunch of videos of Obama when he talked about the Flint crisis. He was mocking people. He was drinking water and took one little sip. You're mocking those people. We have kids with brain issues right now, developmental issues because of lead. And how come nobody went to jail for that? Those people knew.
Hold on. Our infrastructure in this country is horrible.
It's getting worse by the day.
It's horrible. It's not good. Like, again, if we would have spent some of that money instead of going into Iraq and Afghanistan and starting up some war in Syria in Ukraine, we would have plenty of money to fix all of this old infrastructure in this country, and it's not being fixed.
Yep.
It's disturbing.
We've been able to fix a lot of things in this country, and that was my point where I told you where I stood. Justin, what was the drone strike collateral damage?
It was about 20% were civilians.
20%.
80% were militants.
So 20% were civilians.
Yeah, that's a big number, though. If you want to do the math, I mean,
Oh yeah, it is.
do you know what I mean? Like, and how many times do we drone people? How many times do the people that are around there see that, and then we are.
And, and for people that don't understand what drone strikes are, only because part of my job when I was overseas, I actually had to guard a tent where they were flying the drones out of there. They're literally playing a video game.
Yeah.
Like it's a real life Air Force officer who's got a joystick in his hand and a computer. I'm sure it's very technical and complicated, and would have no idea. I'd fly it into the ground, you know. And I'm sure he's really good at it, but it's a video game.
Right.
Just dropping bombs.
Yep.
You know, so.
And that's my thing. If we take like you said, if we take that money that we use for these endless wars, and we could put that back into some sort of humanitarian effort here in the country, what could we become? Like imagine, so the left and the right, we'd be more together. Things would happen a little more smoothly.
Which is why. Which brings me back to which is why they don't want us to be together. Which is why they put propaganda out there in your face at every turn, especially Facebook, especially Twitter, especially Instagram. It's everywhere. The news, whether it's CNBC, whether it's MSNBC, these are not news outlets anymore. It's all propaganda. And then when you have people like Mark Zuckerberg, he's basically limiting speech even on Facebook, because if you don't say the right thing, or they're going to put you in
censorship.
Facebook jail. Dude, it's disturbing, man. Like when you start to see
again, Project Veritas,
Yeah.
catching the Facebook users. Like you say this to people, Jeff. You tell them that, and they'll look at you and like, you're crazy. Like that's not happening. But yeah, they are. Like
Sure.
Again, Project Veritas had the camera on the guy in Facebook. Talking to the Facebook employees, going, "I censor everything Trump does. I don't care. Someone put something up about Trump, I delete it. That's it.
Yep.
Like that's exactly what censorship is.
it's disturbing that you could actually send people the link to it.
They don't want to watch it.
They don't want to watch it because they don't want to.
It's too hard to put the work in.
It's bizarre to me
Yeah.
that people don't want to know the truth.
Yeah.
They don't want to know the truth. They just want to live in their bubble, and they want to be like, "Hey, listen, man, Nancy Pelosi told me go in this direction. I'm going in this direction." Or I mean, it's just as bad if you're a Republican, man. Like I'm not a big fan of.
Well, that's the
Lindsey
problem. There
Graham,
is no
like-
such thing anymore as a two-party system.
Yeah.
They're all doing the same for the most part. They're all doing the same thing, and that's why I say put the work in, because you see through the bullshit, and then you're like, wait a minute, like that's not how we should be doing things. But my thing too is we elect these people who don't give a shit about us after they get elected. For the people, by the people. When's the last time your congressman came to you and had a town hall and said, "What do you guys think?"
They do send out a lot of flyers for donations.
Can I throw a flyer out for someone right now?
Sure.
Actually, because since I wasn't going to bring this up till the end, but I think, and honestly, if he could look this up, do you know who Steve Hall is?
I do not.
I want to say Palmer is in his district. He's running for Senate in Massachusetts against Ann Goby. Ann Goby is from my hometown. She sucks. She's like, for everything I actually wrote her a letter based on the flu virus and the mandatory vaccine. She didn't even like respond. And I was a very professional. There's no name. It was just like my concern. And you would think that you would get your elected senator, or at least have her admin send you a reply, right? Well, I think if you go on his page, his website, Steve Hall, it shows his district, and I'm curious to know if Palmer is in it, and I want to say it is. Highly recommend Steve Hall. He is a Republican, but you know what? He came to my gun club. We had an annual meeting, and I'm really bad at going to meetings. I just happened to go the day he was there, and the guy wowed me. And you want to know what I love about him? He's never been a politician. He's you and me. and he's I think I want to say he's a lawyer or whatever he was, but he's just like, I just feel like I need to get involved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the guy I want.
Yep.
Just the fact he's got a great family. If you look at his website, I've researched some stuff on him before I would ever tell anyone you should vote for something. And that's the guy, and I highly recommend you can get, like, it starts local too, right? We're talking about President and Trump and Obama and Bush, but
It does
here's a
start local. You
local
have to
guy
start
in
working
your
local.
in your district that can help and get out this trash that's been there for, now going on her third, fourth term. So just wanted to throw that out there. I want to say Palmer. If you look, it will show you the map. But,
Dude, which is why we need more regular people, day-to-day jobs, like private citizens in the private sector running for office. We need more Trumps. And I know this is probably triggering some people to say that, but at the end of the day, we need more Trumps. We need people from the private sector that actually care about the country to run. I don't care what
term limits.
Oh my! I was just going to say that term limits,
but
man.
Guess who decides who gets the term limits? You have career politics. This country was, the founding fathers never set the system up to actually have career, quote unquote, career politicians.
Right. It was a part-time job at one time and not even paid.
Yeah.
It was totally volunteer.
And they've turned the big, these people are making, they
Millions.
by the way, they have fixed incomes. And all of a sudden, they're all millionaires. No wonder why Bernie Sanders has been in office for 40 years. No wonder why Nancy Pelosi's been in office for 40 years. No wonder why Biden's been in office for 40 years.
Justin, look up
they have it made.
The top congressmen and what they make.
I'd like to throw a challenge out there, too. I actually told Jeff, when I walked into your house today. Some people would say it's bad parenting because it's Donald Trump. So if you ever mention Donald Trump, you have to immediately, you're a racist or whatever.
You're the Antichrist at that point.
And we talked a little bit about school earlier and things I'm hearing and just listening. And I don't want to get into the question in the science project because that's really irrelevant, but it opened up my mind to how my son was being affected by it. And it was very manipulative questions, not asking him his opinion, but telling him this is what's going on, why.
Not let him be a free thinker.
It was a science question based on opinion biases, which doesn't have to do with science. And it talked about the Constitution and civil rights. But the question was very manipulative, worded to, even though we have civil rights and all this stuff, why do we still have racism? And why do you still not have civil liberties in the United States of America? And I kind of look at that question very manipulative because they're not asking, do you think?
It's stated that why do you not have civil
Why do you
liberties?
not have? So as an adult, I read that question going, okay. So I asked my son, well, how would you answer that? And he answered it based on what he sees. Well, Dad, because, the stuff that's going on with police. Regardless of our personal conversation at home, I thought it was important every Thursday in Spencer, and I think some other towns, they do a Trump rally. Now, again, it's a small town. It's like 100 people. I don't even know if there's 100 people out there. It's hilarious. It's fun. And I'm not a go rally type guy. That's not me. But I was like, you know what? I want to show my kids that everything they hear about Trump and their supporters, and we're not all racist and bigots and violent people. I was like, I want to show you guys what it's like when we go there so you could see that.
Right.
And so we go there. You know what? American flag. We talk to people. Nobody got angry. And the best part was, Jeff, happened at least a dozen or half a dozen times, but this one girl, young girl, rolls her window down right in front of my two kids, 10 and 12 years old, rolls the window down, and I won't say the word because I don't know if it'll get bleeped or it's allowed, but she was like, fuck you, and
there's a lot of anger, man.
Putting her middle finger out at the kids. And so my kid looks at me and goes, he's like, Dad, show you. And I'm like, no, just... And everybody there, they just said, hey, have a nice day, 4 more years. They threw the 4 more years out, but nobody got angry. There was nobody yelling racial slurs. And I wanted to show my kids, like, hey, don't believe all the stuff you're hearing, all the negativity, because it's not necessary. I'm sure there's bad people. There's 100% bad people that follow Trump, right? We all know it. And there's 100% bad people that follow Biden or the other side. That's never going to change. But I challenge anyone here, like, if you're on the other side, go see what it's all about. Go walk down there and watch the 30,000 people that showed up in Florida with you can call them hillbillies and hicks and, whoa, that's all I ever hear, but, like, they love their country. I can tell you that. Love their country.
Yeah, and then afterwards, like 2 big rallies this week. He had about 30,000
Yeah.
at both of them. One in Pennsylvania, one in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing the pictures of buildings burning,
No,
people getting shot.
I literally use this guy as I honestly, and again, I'm not a go around the rally type guy. I used it as a teaching moment. Like I was like, I'm going to teach my kids that everything they're seeing is basically bullshit.
Yeah,
propaganda.
we
And
got to
they
show.
saw the Jeff. They saw the other side, and they saw how we reacted, which was, "Hey, have a great day, take care," And,
Yeah, well, I think that's
Yeah.
important, especially as a parent, to show, even my kids, and Justin will tell you, I never imposed my political beliefs on both my kids. I did tell them all the time to do your homework, and we talked about when
Did he do his homework?
he did. He did. Justin, I'll tell you, Justin did his homework. Now, he was a Bernie fan. And here's the thing about Bernie. I respect the fact that Bernie never changed his position pretty much ever,
Yeah,
right? He's
he
been
didn't.
he's been consistent, right?
Yes, Mr.
And-
consistent.
And the Democrats ran him out. They changed some rules so he couldn't get in. Like all these different things. And it's just one thing after another. Like how I don't want to switch sides. I don't want to, and here's the thing, like
It's not about sides, Jeff.
well,
That's
that's
what
what they
it should
want,
be.
but that's what they
Yeah.
want. And that's why I'm doing everything I can to say, you know what? It's not about sides. It's got to be about us coming together at a certain point in time, talking to each other and working things out. We're not the enemy. It's the people that are running this. And I don't want to come off like some kind of, I hate the government. There's a purpose for the government,
Yeah,
and
of course
I
there is,
get
yeah.
that. But what I don't understand, what I don't want to see is how they take advantage of it, how they split us down the middle. That if
Yeah.
I think a certain way, like I feel like I'm a man with no island. I believe in Medicaid for all. I believe in the Second Amendment. There's a lot of other things, and when I tell people that, like I believe in women's right to choose, okay, and the conversation goes back to the Second Amendment a lot of times, and they're like, "Well, you're on the right. You support the Second Amendment." That's bullshit.
That's what's happened. Is it's become one issue voting. So
Right.
basically, and that's emotional. It's not logical. It's okay. Let's big picture. Do you want a president that wants to take you to war? Probably not. I would say probably everybody's on the same side where we can all agree. You don't want a president that wants to take you to war all the time, right? I think everybody would agree with that.
We have one.
There you go. So, but secondly, hey, you want a president that actually works within the budgets of the United States and doesn't want to tax the shit out of you that we're hearing from the left and that we've seen in the past. I think taxes are far too high in this country. Comes out of my paycheck, destroys the middle class. Lower taxes. So here's another guy that is all about lowering the. Don't get me wrong, our tax policies are not perfect.
Right.
But I almost wish people just at the end of the day take this country for granted. They have no idea how good they have it here, and they make it sound like when you
I
listen
love
to.
it. I've been overseas.
Yeah, when you listen to
So
the left,
you have a firsthand.
Oh,
Nothing like
right.
it. People have no idea.
people, and that's the problem. I think people think they are spoiled. These people, dude, millennials, you're gonna hate me. Spoiled, rotten little brats, man. They have no idea what it's like to go to another country under like communist rule, but they are embracing communism today, and they have no
I don't.
idea.
I don't understand that one bit.
They have no
So-
idea the type of like civil liberties that just shit on you under communist rule, but they embrace it.
I want to bring up a Bernie question or a Bernie because you brought up Bernie Sanders and Trump's first election. I'll never forget. Honestly, like you guys, most people watching this might think, oh, Dave's a diehard right, righty Republican. I'm actually an independent. Do I lean right? Sure. Okay. I'm okay admitting that.
I'm fiscally conservative
Yeah.
when it comes to to those things. Sure.
But let me tell you something. I remember having many conversations with Jeff. In a way, I got to be honest with you. If Bernie ran against Trump, I would have I didn't know which way I was going. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
And now there were some things I thought Bernie was absolutely insane about. But I also thought that there was something like, it was like, yeah, I had to choose. So my question I ask Democrats this question all the time, like, guys, you guys had the candidate everybody wanted. How the hell can you support your own party who kicks him to the curb? Clearly won. He clearly won.
Yep.
She won because of superdelegates. Basically, the superdelegates protect the people want you, but we don't want them, so the superdelegates are going to get you out of there.
Yeah.
They literally didn't give a shit how you voted.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, like, they didn't care about your vote. The superdelegates work for the Congress and the senators and all the important people.
Right.
And they are the ones that put Hillary in that position. Not Bernie should have been the nominee.
Yeah.
And he had the crowds. He had the Trump crowds.
Yep.
I tell people that, like, Trump gets these rallies. Like, Biden can't even get 5 people to show up to his rally.
Yep.
Trump gets 30. Bernie had the same following. And I'm telling you, there was a little bit of me that's like, kind of like, I love how he challenges Wall Street. I love how he does this.
Sure.
And he's a little loopy and, he's from Vermont or wherever. They're strange up there. But,
Shout out to Vermont.
yeah, I guess my point is like, they might have won the election because they had guys like me convinced, like, maybe I should vote for
I
this
was in the
guy.
same boat as you, man.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Years ago, I never would have voted for Bernie, ever. And that's the God's honest truth. As we got closer to this race, I'm like, you know what? I got to give the guy credit for never wavering. I mean,
Yeah,
you
but
can pull
never
tape from him.
wavering- All right, so he's never So this is where I'm going to get triggered.
Let it out,
So
Chef. You're in a
never-
safe place. Let it out.
So never wavering on
Here,
being,
hold on a minute. Go
okay,
ahead.
so never wavering on being a communist. Okay, so he was a communist his whole life until he ran for president. Then he was a democratic socialist. That's just a nicer way of saying I'm a communist.
Yeah, but he never.
Okay.
Yeah,
like,
he's-
Dude,
communist.
He's a communist.
I hear. I
Yeah.
can see why you would go that route.
No,
but
no.
he never like.
let's not
Yeah.
miss words. He's a communist. He's
All right,
pro-
we'll assume he's a communist.
So look up his history. Look up he thought Lenin was
Brandon, any
fantastic.
thoughts?
All right, so he thought Lenin
He
was
loved
fantastic.
Bernie.
He thinks Mao's fantastic. He thinks taxing people 50% of their this is completely against
Yeah,
everything I stand
Well,
for. I don't need.
so I agree with
so
you on that point.
I,
that,
I ask
that,
everybody
yeah.
this. I ask everybody simply stated: can you afford 50% of your paycheck coming out of your to
Absolutely
taxes every day? Because that's what's going to happen in a socialistic communist society.
Well-
50% of your paycheck gone. Let me ask you something. How many people can pay their mortgage? How many people are going to be able to go on nice trips to the Caribbean? How are you going to be able to take your kid? You going to be able to pay for your kid's college? You're going to be, college will be free. Well, no, it's not free. It comes out of your paycheck. 50% of your paycheck's gone.
College can be free.
It's not.
Join the military.
Well,
college.
Well,
is
that's
free.
that's another thing. You look at we'll take up college for that's a great topic, right? So we talk about how come college is so unaffordable right now, right?
Which is, it is.
It's ridiculous.
Okay,
It's
right. So
ridiculous.
back in the day, you used to be able to go to college working a part-time job and really not have a college any kind of bills, college loan to pay for when you got out.
Have you seen these college campuses? Their landscaping's phenomenal.
Yeah, listen, I could.
Phenomenal.
Well, here's the deal. Let's say I'm Bill Clinton, and I go to wherever, and you're paying me $10 million to come speak at your college. Are you serious
Crazy.
with that?
Crazy.
Are you serious? And
Hunter Biden got paid a lot of money.
$3.5 million from the Russians.
All right, stop. We're gonna.
Hold on a
was
minute.
making a point about
Hold on a
colleges.
minute.
Hey, listen, because
But-
it's important to me, college. 'Cause,
Sure.
It's all right. Real quick, I'm gonna let you make your point.
Yeah.
I got it again. Brought it up a 10 and 12-year-old. It's funny. I'm already grooming them to say don't go to college and learn a trade because it's impossible.
Plumbers and electricians.
It's impossible to afford. Let's
Yep.
face it. Unless you're
And you can't even get a job in your prospective field.
But let me
I
ask
mean,
you
you're
this.
rolling the dice.
Is it better just to say, go take out a $200,000 loan and start your own business and do whatever you want? Right? Do what you love.
Yeah.
Start your own business.
Yeah.
Why
I'm trying to
Well, the
just
problem is
guide
the
my kids to
regulations to
learn a
start your own
trade,
business.
Learn a trade. You
Yeah.
know,
I can tell you right now, my plumber, who I love, by the way, we actually met a little while ago. We have a bromance.
Did you go on a date?
I love that guy.
Did they get weird or something?
No, I didn't get weird, but you know what? I couldn't. So here's the thing: I had
Sounds
some,
like
I
you
had
got
some
weird.
issues I needed to take care of. Hired 2 different plumbers. Neither one of them showed up after my quote. So I figured, well, I'm never getting this done, and this is something I wanted to have done for like 13 years that we own our house. So I finally meet this plumber. Come to find out, I went to high school with him. Him and the electrician that came to do something else for me. And he was honest. He showed up on time. And he said to me, he goes, listen, I could have went to college for a lot of other things. But my father sat me down and said, there's going to be a shortage of plumbers coming. I'm a plumber. and this guy's making bank.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like it's like in society today that it's like it's almost like dehumanized to go into
Well,
into like a trade.
I don't know about that anymore though. Like because I got to be honest with you, when I was in high school, I felt like the vocational kids we used to have. Those are the stupid kids.
Yeah.
And they ain't so stupid now.
shout
They're
out to
probably-
automotive.
Yeah,
That's what I
they're
was.
laughing at all. They're laughing at the guys that are 40 still paying off their college.
Yeah, I'm still
So-
I'm bitter at Chicopee High yelling, "Fix my car" at the
Yeah.
basketball games.
So it's funny, like, I love my kid to be a genius. Based on my history, they're probably not going to be.
No doubt about that.
So, listen, I've been fortunate. I'm good at what I do, so I'm okay. I don't know if they'll be in that same position, so I'm like, like you brought up the plumber. I'm redoing my basement, electrician. I just handed him a check. I was like, how much?
Yeah, oh
You
yeah.
know, I was like, how
And
much?
that hurts. It hurts to hand
yeah, I
the
was
money
like,
over.
what? And like he did a phenomenal job, and I was like, you were only here for like 3 hours. What'd you say? How much was that? Like, are you sure? Like, we got the hours up again? But yeah. So college is absolutely ridiculous, and you want to know what? Great. I think it was want to say HBO or ESPN did a special on like the fraud behind college sports.
Oh.
And the money that it brings in with the bowl games,
Sure.
the Tostitos and this bowl and that bowl, and it's amazing. Literally, like they've turned college into just a freaking billboard of making money. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's
big,
ridiculous.
It's big business.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
big business.
you're talking about tax money, right? So you have these. Who just had the new stadium built? Was that the
College or NFL?
NFL?
Oakland Raiders.
Oakland, yeah, and it
Yeah.
was something like $5 billion.
Did you see that place?
It has a
They call
dome
it the
that.
Death Star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that. Google that. See how much of that money came out of taxpayers' dollars.
Dollars.
I just say dollars.
You did say dollars.
Yeah, listen, I don't drink very often, so I think this is starting to get to me. That's a Freudian slip. So, why do I have to pay for a stadium if I'm living in that city? Was it benefiting me at all?
I'm still thinking about the dollars thing.
I tried to get past that real quick. If you haven't
So
noticed.
glad I didn't have any dollars, by the way.
So the taxpayers are funding $750 million for the project.
But
Wow.
that 750. What was the total
Crazy,
project
dude.
It
though?
was
Yeah.
like $5 billion or something like that. Right?
So that's
Something
actually kind of
crazy.
small in the
It
spectrum.
doesn't
of the
matter.
put.
Man. It shouldn't be a dime.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a dime.
So
right?
I
You
mean,
shouldn't tell me you couldn't raise that money.
So do you
through-
guys?
Two owners in one building making $1 gazillion.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
do you remember when the Patriots were talking about leaving Foxborough?
Yeah.
We're going to go to a Hartford.
Massachusetts bend the knee on Bob Kraft?
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
Listen, I'm the biggest Patriots fan. I mean, we're huge Pats fans. Love football.
We're in
but
the
dude, like, why?
Pats
Dude,
Nation.
these guys are billionaires. They don't need a dime from us, and yet still they take. Dude, the middle class takes it on the chin all the time, and we bend over and we stick to it because
Yep.
guess what? Because we believe our politicians knows what's best for us. I get some news for everybody. The politicians don't know what's best for you. They know what's best for their bottom line and how to get elected. I
Yep.
wish people just would wake up to this, man. Like they're not. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. These people are not in position for you. They're not there as much as they'll go up there and say, "Hope and change." Loving whatever slogan that they want to use, people really buy this crap now, man, and it just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. Man.
Yeah. I just watched a video with Dianne Feinstein when she was with a group of kids, and they were talking about the Green New Deal, and she pretty much snapped at these kids and told them she really basically doesn't care what they have to say, and I think kids at whatever age, they have something to give at a certain level. I can remember when I was young, my mother would just tell me, mind your own business. You're not old enough to make those decisions, right? How many times have you guys heard that, right?
Yeah.
And as I get older, I kind of understand that, although I do want to listen, but Justin, when you Googled the how much everybody makes for Congress, who was
Well, the average salary yearly is $190,000.
$190,000 for a
Yeah.
salary,
Yeah.
right? You and I don't make
By
that
the, way,
kind
by
of
the
money.
way, I'm sure their expense accounts are up there too, right?
Right,
You know?
right.
And then Kelly Loeffler from Georgia has a net worth of $500 million.
500 million. What is
So they make $190,000 a year, and they have net worths of over
500
$500 million.
Yeah. What about Nancy Pelosi? What is she worth?
Let's see.
I'm sure I'll throw up when you come up with that number.
And so Trump's a billionaire or whatever the hell he is, right? And I've always heard people say, "Oh, this man's in it to get richer and make his friends rich." Give me a break. This guy, what the hell? I always say to people, the guy had the best life in the world. Any one of us would love to have his life and have that money. All he did was make his life complicated.
Yeah.
And by the way, make his children's life complicated.
Sure.
Make his younger kid who's like, what, 14, 13, whatever, make his life complicated. Like I tell people that, and it's like it goes in one ear. Like
it's funny. Like I hear I talk to people on the left, and they're like, "Well,
sorry,
120 million.
120
Are you sure?
million.
I think she's worth more than that.
That's a lot of freaking money.
I think she's worth more than that. I
She's
really
worth
do.
More than that. Anyway, she's been in office for 40 years. How does
Yeah.
she get that much money?
How does she keep businesses closed down and then get her hair done there?
Dude, a lot of assets tied up too.
Huh?
That's why. She has a lot of other assets tied up too.
Of course, she's
Yeah.
got a lot of assets
Yeah.
tied up. It's dude.
They're on pedophile island with Epstein right now.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to talk about conspiracy theories? Here he
Hold on,
is.
do you know
Okay.
that? Do you know that his girlfriend, Maxwell, they've got additional cameras that they've set up?
Is
on
she
her?
even alive anymore? I've heard nothing.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no, it's
she's probably already dead. They're
It's
just
my,
not gonna-
it's
they're
my
not gonna
understanding
swallow it.
they've got her locked down. But dude, does anybody believe she's gonna make it a year to try?
I don't even
No,
know if
she's
alive
never
right
gonna make
now,
it to
be
trial.
honest with you.
How can somebody in that high profile of a case, right, die within days, right, or days or weeks, whatever? It was a very short amount of time, right? And nobody knows nothing. Cameras broke.
Two-tier
What a
justice.
bunch of horse shit.
Clintons.
Right?
The Clinton death list.
I will tell you this though.
Snitches get stitches.
The memes
bro.
about Clinton and them were absolutely
Oh
fantastic.
my god, dude.
I
Well,
love
it's,
memes.
It's even worse now because now
And they're so real.
Right.
Oh no, they do. Come on, man! Like he's been there like 26 times. It's logged. He's got pictures with all these girls. Like,
The
stop being in
electrician
that.
on Netflix. Come
Stop
on,
being
he
in
said
that
he saw him there.
Yeah. I mean,
So, just in case anybody ever wonders, I'd never killed myself. I do not have any. I do not want to harm myself in any way. So if I come up dead, Hillary definitely killed me. Just want to throw it out there.
Hillary.
are we
Can we just say something like, all right, completely off subject, but I cannot wait. Like, it's literally, I have an alarm set on my phone for the debate next week, just because I think it's going to be hilarious.
Grab your popcorn.
Can people just, you know what? I think if anything, guys, if you're watching this, go to the debate and just relax. Watch it and just laugh. Like, the fact that you're going to watch a sitting president call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, Beijing Biden,
Beijing
and everything
Biden's the
else
best.
is awesome. And you want to know what? The fact that he made fun of Rand Paul's hair 4 years ago, and that it pissed me off at then, but now I look at it and go, dude, there's a ruthless man that does anything to do to win, man. I love that guy.
Let's talk about Rand Paul. How come that guy? How do we not understand
I like Rand
the
Paul, by the
benefits
way.
that he has? Right. I would vote for him any day.
I would have voted for Rand Paul.
They don't want
Prayers for Ron Paul today. Like,
Oh,
I don't
did you
know
see
if
that
you guys
video?
heard
Yeah,
but
I
Ron
watched-
Paul looked like he had a stroke.
He did-
on
did you
air,
watch the
man.
video? Yeah, it was-
dude,
I didn't see
disturbing.
It was pretty
I
sad.
heard about it, but I didn't see it.
Which is a guy after my own heart.
Yep.
Libertarian, baby.
Yeah, Rand is the man, dude, and I think that the Republicans were scared of him too because he was talking
Again,
audit the Fed,
against
Yeah.
the wars. He was against war. Opening
Yeah.
up all these wars. He was against,
what
it,
a-
and he was
what a-
against taxes.
What a jerk.
All you Bernie fans love taxes. I don't really understand.
Well,
this.
here's the other day that they finally I think it was the 9th. Find out who said that Snowden was or the NSA was unconstitutional. It just came out a little while ago. Matter of fact, Joe Rogan just had Edward Snowden on the other day. Here we are again, that the NSA is unconstitutional. Still going. Like,
Well,
I mean,
hey, by the way,
am I missing something?
Hey, by the way, I want to bring a point to something. So you gotta love the names that they use that they pick, and this is how you know. Like, if they pick a name like Patriot Act, it sounds like it's very patriotic.
Well, now it's called the Freedom Act.
Right. Freedom Act sounds fantastic. It's for
Yeah.
your freedom. It's just the opposite. So I literally wish, like, if anybody watches this and gets anything out of anything we say other than we're a bunch of morons, is that, dude, listen to the propaganda that's out there. There are signs. So when they say Patriot Act, you might want to go look into that because it's probably unpatriotic. If it's the Freedom Act, there's probably freedoms that are being suppressed within the law, and it's 100% true to this day.
Yep.
Every single one of them. The NDAA. Most people don't know what that is. National Defense Authorization Act. It's disturbing if you read it.
I'm not going to lie. That shit kept me up one night. I read it in depth. A friend of mine, his brother had a podcast on YouTube, very popular. And, very popular. We became friends. He threw that out to me one night. He goes, just read this. And I'm not kidding you. I couldn't sleep that night. The powers that gives the government is absolutely scary. And we talk about the Constitution. We talk about the rights that it gives us, inalienable rights. That shit will keep you up at night.
Yeah.
Because what makes me a combative of the country? Because I have 7 days worth of food in my other room.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Unless you listed out the actual, I read it.
Did you look at that? What makes you?
I think most people out there don't even have a clue what's in there. So
right.
I mean, you and I understand. I don't even think Dave's probably.
No. For the to make you a domestic terrorist, the FBI had I remember reading it a long time ago. If you had 7 days worth of food, if you had,
it's just a broad brush way. Of
one of those ones. If you sleep on a plane. Are you kidding me?
By the way, I think just today Trump is finally pushing that Antifa will be a domestic terrorism.
Oh, really?
I just saw it on
Did
Google.
you? Yeah. Here's the problem. There's so much shit going on, and I'm pretty good about sorting these things out. I'm having a hard time. I'm not gonna lie. It's just too much to look at.
There's bullets flying every day.
Yeah, and my poor wife. When I get home and I look at things, and because my brain doesn't shut off. I don't want to be caught with my pants down and not be educated enough. And that's why I say, I can pick some things out that I don't like about Trump. And you can pick on him all day about his tweets and this crazy shit he says.
I like the tweets now.
I love the tweets. I love the tweets, yeah. It's just the best. But at the end of the day, I'm smart enough to look at both sides. No, we talk about Kamala Harris. And the one that just constantly gets to the tip of my tongue is a federal judge told her to release some prisoners. For whatever reason, she doesn't want to do that. That's regardless of the fact that he told her to do that, right? You or I, if we didn't do something the judge told us to do, we'd be in contempt of court in 2 seconds, right? She says, no, I'm not going to do it. So he tells her again. She says, I'm not going to do it. So he pulls her into court. And her defense was, if I let those people go, it's going to hurt my prison workforce labor. Are you fucking kidding me? That's
numbers.
That's slavery.
Yeah.
That's modern slavery. Whatever the reason is that he told you to, and not to mention the fact that, I don't know where you guys.
I would think people would need to look into her record to really understand what she did, and it's pretty.
She put people in jail for smoking marijuana and then laughed about smoking marijuana.
There's a reason why she got less than 1% of the support within the Democratic Party, is because it's as simple as this. This is a fact. She doesn't have the support of African Americans, and it's as simple as that. Why? Because she literally targeted African Americans while she was the Attorney General in California.
Blasphemy.
It's disturbing.
It is disturbing.
No.
It really is.
Dude, here's the funny part is I actually think there's a lot I encourage people to do a little bit of research on her.
And just for the record,
she's an authoritarian.
I need to stop drinking right now. I think I'm at that point. I'm just saying.
Will Biden be in? Yes or no question. Will Biden be on the debate stage next week?
He won't be.
I don't.
He's not going to be. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, do you think that he's going to be able to? Okay, here's the thing.
You really think he's not?
How old is he? He's like 70. How old is this guy? He's in his 70s.
Maybe your son can look this up.
Yep.
Did Biden's campaign, has it been shut down for the last couple of days? Because I saw Trump tweeting about it, and I'm just like, there it is.
Yeah.
He came up sick. He's not going to be able to make it.
Here's the thing. Let's say he's 76, but I don't know how old he is offhand. What am I going to be like at 76? So I'm not picking on the guy. You know what I mean? Like I could be in an adult diaper, sitting in front of a window, drooling on myself, and the reality of that is actually pretty good. So I don't want to pick on him just for that, but here's my problem. That's the best the left has right now.
No, they had something better. They just refused to go with it.
Well, 'cause it's
Tulsi,
not-
We talked about
right,
Tulsi
exactly.
and Bernie,
Yep.
and
Hey, listen, if anybody thinks that Biden's going to make it through 1 year of service, you're out of your mind. And everybody
What's
knows
the plan
this.
though? Okay, because we know that's we all know that's going to
they don't
happen.
care,
What's
as
the
long as
plan?
they have,
This is what people don't understand. This is what people don't understand. It's not one guy that's going to be running the country. It's going to be groupthink that's running the country. That's why he's just a puppet. Everybody knows, even people that most diehard Democrats have to admit that this guy is not going to be the one running the country.
Beijing will be running the
Beijing
country.
So
Biden.
she
Maybe
gets
you
in, right?
think he's gonna be running.
She gets in. Who takes over vice president?
You got me. Some socialist, some communist. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, we could go from a shit show to
Can
a.
anyone really
more
believe
of a
the
shit
poll
show.
numbers?
You can't,
No,
well, look at Hillary.
I mean-
Look at Hillary Clinton. Right up to the night before,
No,
she's
it's
landslide victory.
No,
All of a sudden, I wake up in the morning. Dude, I stayed awake until like 2:00 in the morning, 2:30.
Yeah, I did too.
Right, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Right,
Let me ask you.
and I wake up in the morning and I'm like, holy
why
shit.
do you think they're causing so much chaos? Why do you think they're constantly just causing chaos out there right now? It's because they're in a panic. They know Trump is going to win in a landslide, so they're going to do everything they can.
They're handing it to him in a silver platter, by the way.
But they're doing everything they can to create chaos because they know he's going to win in a landslide. So they want to create a constitutional crisis. They want to do that. And if people can't see that, man, I don't even know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, come on, man. Sometimes just do what's right. Look at what's right. You don't like Trump, I get it, but look at his policies. He's not killing anybody out here. You know what I mean? Like he's not taking us to war. He's not he's not putting in 50% of your paycheck.
Here's the way I look at it.
Yep.
Here's
He
the
hasn't
way,
done
you know,
anything that really affected your life in some negative way. Our
I
401
wish people could look at Trump for what I believe, and maybe I'm wrong. How old's Trump? 70 something, right?
I don't even know.
Trump came from the time when America was great. He was building skyscrapers in New York, even though it was dirty mafia building all the skyscrapers. We've all seen that, right?
There's no such thing as the mafia.
yeah.
I just want to make that perfectly
Yeah,
clear.
but my point is like I think he's a little bit old school, man. He still has that inside of him about American pride. You know, you ain't gonna beat us type, in him. And how could you not appreciate that?
Yeah.
And regardless of, he's got some weaknesses in his game, but they all do.
So you said
At
that
the
is he a womanizer? Yeah, he's a womanizer.
Sure.
Come on,
There's
man.
no doubt about it.
Whatever.
Yeah, we
Sure.
get that.
He's a human
Yeah.
being. Like
Yeah.
he's not perfect.
But at the end of the day, I think he really, really does love America.
yeah.
Puts America first, and I think that's why
well,
he got
I think
in
he
this.
loves what we can become.
Yeah,
I really do. Take all the other shit that he does
wants
and
to
the
beat
crazy
the rest
nonsense.
of the world.
Yep.
How could you not love
Right.
that?
Hold on. He said that China's kicking the crap out of us. They've stolen all our manufacturing. They didn't steal our manufacturing. We gave it to them.
Yeah, we gave
So
it to
I
them.
mean, nobody can
Right.
deny this. So NAFTA under Clinton, it gave all our manufacturing to Mexico. It gave then we divvied up our manufacturing out to China. He's only saying the obvious. I don't understand how people can like sit there and be like, "This is a bad thing to try to bring back manufacturing."
Justin, check that camera. Make sure it's still going.
If we can't become self-sustainable, look at what happened during COVID. Look at how there was a supply crunch during COVID in March, where you couldn't even get damn toilet paper.
Right.
You couldn't get medical supplies because we rely on so much foreign manufacturing. It's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I hope that at least opened people's eyes to, you know what? We do need someone to lead this country that's going to, encourage and fund and create some sort of jobs within the manufacturing industry like sooner than later, because that's a major. If we ever have a war or a major issue with China, we're going to be in some trouble. I didn't even know that like the majority of our the antibiotics come from China. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Now, let me ask you
know
something.
now, yeah.
How is that possible?
That's a problem.
How is that possible? But it's true though.
Because,
it's true.
Cheap labor.
No,
That's
I
cheap labor.
honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with like funguses and stuff like grow over there. It has something because I looked it up.
Yeah.
It has something to do with like the way antibiotics are made. They're able to grow stuff there.
Right.
Yeah,
Can I just say something too, Justin? Your haircut today is on point. I just want to let you know that.
Nice job, Justin.
Not a boy. But yeah, I mean, we have all these. Yeah, you can tell. we had all these jobs leave. I can remember, right, back in the day when Clinton was president, I could name my price going to another company. Literally name my price. I remember being a store manager. I was going to take a step down to go to TJ Maxx to be an assistant store manager for $10,000 more than I was making as a store manager. It's disgusting, right? That just defies all logics of retail, right? And a sign-on bonus. And then Mark Fouts, who I worked for at Caldor, came to work for us at Michael's and became my DM. And God bless his soul, because he has since passed. Sat me down. He started laughing. And I said, "What are you laughing at?" Because I told him I'm leaving in a week. And he goes, "No, you're not." And I said to him, "What do you mean, no, I'm not?" He slid over a napkin. He goes, "Just name your price." So I put like $12,000 more, or $13,000 more. He goes, "All right, done. I'll make it happen tonight." And by the time I got home, he already had made it happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that right now.
No.
You know what I mean? And the amount of businesses that are closing
Sad, man.
in my industry, there's a lot that's closing.
Yeah. Mine too, Jeff.
Yeah,
in the
I
food
mean,
industry,
and I was where you were just a couple of years ago, and I hope we bounce back from this, because the ramifications of where we are now, in COVID. Like, so I have a cousin that lives in Italy, and when COVID first came out, I saw people, the death rate was insane, and she was really getting scared, and I'm watching her go through all this, and it's not here yet. And I'm just like, I hope this never gets here, and here we are. So, how do we bounce back from this? Someone sent me a video the other day of going through downtown New York, down in Manhattan.
I'm going there next week. It's disgusting.
It's one vacant building after another.
Yeah.
Dude,
All the storefronts are gone.
Dude, listen. Look at the big cities that are controlled. Like, I hate to bring it back to this, but it's true. All the major cities are controlled by these Democrats.
Yep.
And they're keeping them shut down. Like Florida's deciding to open it up,
right?
And Texas has opened up, and it's funny that they can open up. And listen, if anybody wants to look at the statistics, people are not. It is so overblown. It's out of control.
When Texas opened up,
and by the way, if mass worked, it shouldn't be a problem.
By the way, I just want to point out, because everybody remembers it, when Texas opened up, it was the mass hysteria. Oh my God, the cases are rising. We haven't heard nothing. You're still open. Everything's good.
Right. Yep.
So it was like the mass panic went on. Let's sound the alarms, and then I got a buddy who lives in Dallas. I talk to him all the time. He's like, "Dave, I don't even know anyone that's had COVID."
Right.
Like, I'm in Dallas.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we look at California, right? Places on fire. Yeah, I feel bad for those people. I really do. The homelessness problem is
crazy.
Through the roof, right?
Control.
And that disturbs me. I don't want to see anybody lose their home. I don't want to see anybody homeless. I'm very sensitive to that.
Scares me.
Absolutely.
I think about it happen to me.
Sure.
It scares the crap out of me.
And it could happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
They say, like, I don't know, what's the amount of people that can't even afford a $500 emergency right now, right? Or even a $1,000 emergency. If somebody wants to follow somebody good on YouTube, look at Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore used to be part of the Young Turks, and he said, I'm done with the left. And he also switched, and he's now independent. And he's a great person to listen to. He calls things out for what they are. And that's definitely a concern for me, man. Like, I could be homeless tomorrow. I have a wife who's disabled, who has a brain injury. When is it my turn?
Jeff, I think about that stuff all the time, especially having 2 little kids.
Yep.
And I'm always trying to prepare for the worst. I really do. I always and sometimes I'm like, I'm acting a little probably, but I do. I think about that stuff constantly.
It's true.
The industry I'm in too. Forget about it.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I work for a company that is family owned, been around 100 years. They got their shit together, and we survived it, and we're in good shape now. But I mean, not a lot of people are,
Well, that's the other thing too is, Justin, do me a favor, go to the hot water tank. And he's just press it where it says change filter. Keep it pressed until it goes away. It's been going off the entire time. Nothing beats when I start a podcast. I have all sorts of beeping going on, dogs barking. And, if anybody doesn't know, we've been in animal rescue now for about 9 years, and we have a puppy upstairs who his sole job is to piss off every other dog I have upstairs. Because he wants to play all the time, and it's on his terms. So if anybody hears any dogs in the background, I apologize in advance. But yeah, so Jeff, we were just talking about like some of the homeless, the crisis in California, and I'm sure it's not just California, but a lot of videos have been coming out about that and those things. So we have these mass evictions that are going on, and thank God that Massachusetts just came out with today, I believe, that there's a stay on evictions. So that's a good thing, 'cause I don't want to see anybody to lose their place to live. But what's it going to look like in 6 months?
Hey, dude, listen. At the end of the day, let people go to work. Let
We
people
have to go to work.
Listen, most people know where I stand on the scamdemic. But at the end of the day, let people go to work. Let them make the decision whether they want to go to work.
You remember
you can't force people not to make a living. You can't force people not to pay their mortgage. And for those out there that are like, hey, you know what? Well, they're putting people in danger. Well, you're working. You're working.
Yeah.
Why are you allowed to work?
Right.
You remember I brought up common sense earlier? So I traveled to, I think it was 3-4 weeks ago, I was in Long Island. And I know Manhattan right now in New York City, there's no in-dining. My world, it's what I live in for work. And it's a big part of my chunk of my territory. And I think they open up 25% on the 30th or something like that. But so I didn't realize the laws were different in Long Island. I thought there was no in-dining. And I was at my hotel, like, oh yeah, Smoky Bones is open or whatever. So whatever, I go to Smoky Bones. Now, I can see the bridge to Manhattan almost from where I was staying, overnight. And I'm sitting at a bar having a freaking, I don't remember what the hell I ate. It was like some meal. It was a barbecue meal, pulled pork or whatever. Stuff in my face, watching a fake baseball game with fake fans, and having a beer by myself at work. And 15 miles down the road, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's bizarro world.
Yeah.
Like, the hell is wrong with these people? Like, where's the common sense? Like, it's amazing. I was sitting there thinking about it, talking to the bartenders, and they're like, yeah, it's crazy, right? And
Dude,
I'm like,
if people think, again, this comes back to propaganda and actually people believing the politicians. It drives me insane. They're actually believing the bullshit that comes out of their mouths. And when you actually go look at the CDC statistics, what are we doing?
Well, let's not forget that they just changed.
Why is anybody
everything just a little while ago?
Why is anybody under the age of 60 afraid to go to work? Go to work, man. Like, this is it. The statistics are overwhelming. It's like 99.9%. If you're under the age of like 50,
right,
you're gonna be okay, man.
Yeah.
Even if you get 90. By the way, 99% of the people that are active cases right now have mild to no conditions. Let me just say that's a fact. 99% of active cases have mild to no conditions.
So you don't care about the 1%?
Yeah.
Well, here's the
Can I
funny
make
part.
a suggestion?
You bastard.
Can I make a suggestion whenever this ends? We should end it on something positive. It's been very,
Well, I thought it was very positive for Trump. Most of the day.
But here's the thing, though. We honestly don't know what the lasting effects are. We're seeing a lot of things with blood clots and heart issues afterwards, right? So that's a little unnerving. But at the end of the day, I don't like when they. So we talked earlier today about if someone dies of a really like a broken leg or whatever, and they count it as a COVID death because they came up positive for COVID. When you start manipulating numbers, you lose me. And then I think other things are going on, right?
You lose me, yeah.
Right? That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
And I want to be educated, but at the same time, I don't want you to lie to me. And if you're lying to me about something, it's because you're doing something unethical or immoral. And what's the end game? Why are you doing it?
The government lying to you? Well, I thought we covered this.
So
already. We already know that the government lies.
So what do you think? What do you think the surprise is going to be out of COVID? So we talked about the Patriot Act, right?
We'll never know.
What's coming out of this?
What's coming out of this is the CDC put out there. Everybody goes to the CDC website. Only 6% of the deaths were directly from COVID.
Right.
94% all had underlying conditions. I think the average age is around like 80 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's right around that age.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. And here's the thing. People start, again, it comes down to logic and common sense. Is this a deadly disease? Yes, especially if you have it and you're elderly and you have an underlying condition. But it's the same thing. That's why there's been 159,000 pneumonia deaths this year. Is anybody afraid of the pneumonia? No. Are we wearing masks because of pneumonia? No. But more people have actually died directly from a pneumonia than from COVID this year. That's a fact because I can do math on my phone. It's pretty simple, man. Like, so it's just all in the way people want to propagandize it, and everybody knows it comes down to this: it all goes away after the election, guaranteed. Watch.
And in the meantime, these poor kids that are in K through 12 are suffering. I do listen. I had a tough week last week because I was very, very even this week it was tough because I'm just watching my kids stressed out.
It's hard. It's hard. Thank God my kids are out of school.
I'm fortunate enough where
God bless you.
I can't afford exactly what I want to do, but I'm sending my child's 10-year-old, not my 12, because I can't afford to do them both, to a teacher that's retired.
Yep.
So he goes twice a week, and if I didn't have her, he would be way far behind. He would not she's like, "Oh, Dave, I'm finding all these sites. I don't know where all those stuff. I'm too busy working, trying to make my job and make a living." And
when you talk about Common Core, you lose me on the whole.
It's not even about Common Core. It's about the curriculum, the work they have to get done. Hold on, just hear me out. And I'm a parent that tries to stay on top of it, right? And I can't.
Right.
And I need help. I'm probably one out of 100 parents that are getting help. I don't know how many. These kids are screwed.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, they're screwed. And any parent that tells you, "Oh, this online thing's great," you're lying to yourself because they ain't learning shit.
Yeah, and they need to be in a classroom environment. They need. Hey, Justin, do me a favor. I meant to ask you this before. Google how many small businesses have shut down permanently because of COVID.
Yeah. Well, the kids need the social interaction as well.
Absolutely. That's a huge. We had social interaction.
Yeah,
I mean, could you imagine?
I've been lucky. I brought it up earlier. Fortunate enough for my neighbor, and my kids have been. We gave up on COVID in March, and we let the kids go.
Yep.
So they've been fortunate enough where they were having sleepovers and hanging out with their friends. But I mean, I've seen the weirdo kids that have come to my house after 6 months of not seeing kids. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, and I see a lot of that. I see a lot of my friends. Thank God my kids are out of school. I don't have to deal with that anymore. But could you imagine if we were in school? We didn't have computers, right? What would we have done if this was us?
First of all,
what would we have done?
You'd be at school.
You'd be at school.
Yeah.
We would have been at school.
Yeah.
58% of small businesses have permanently closed, and
That's
76
insane.
So what's the source of that?
That is on
58.
That's a real number.
U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
USChamberofCommerce.com. 58% of small businesses have closed.
And if people don't think that, again, it comes down to taking advantage of a crisis, they're out of their minds. And I can't believe people can't see it. It's so frustrating to me. And it gets me so
Meanwhile, Walmart, Target, Costco,
doing
great. Big corporations.
Breaking numbers.
All the big so this is what I say, because this very same people that look at me like, well, it's for their own safety, they're going to Home Depot. They're going to the big corporations. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, yeah, but you can go to all these big corporate owned businesses, but all these small businesses are crushed. And they look at you like,
yeah,
they don't get what you're saying, and I'm like,
because it doesn't affect them. You know what I mean? That's
people have lost the ability to use critical thinking and think logically,
right?
Because they want to go along with the narrative, and that's what they want to be a part of.
Well, they want to be on a team, right? And who doesn't want to be on a team? And if you think outside the box or you think outside that team, you run the risk of being. So we talked about cancel culture earlier, right? I have never seen so much crazy nonsense about cancel culture my entire life, to the point where you are not allowed to be a free thinker, even if you're wrong. I don't even care if you're wrong, right? It's the fact that you could have your opinion. I think the First Amendment is such an important amendment, and there's a lot of things we hear certain things we're like, oh, you get upset. But I support your right to say it all day long, right? Even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because once we take that away, we're fucked in a big way, right? So if you want to spew whatever nonsense you're spewing, I support you 100%, even though you're wrong, or you could be wrong. We live in the greatest country in the world where you have that
It's okay
freedom
to be wrong.
do.
It's okay to be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong once in my life.
Listen, I'm not. Thank God I'm handsome as I am, because sometimes when I've been wrong, it's my handsomeness that has pulled me through. I'm not gonna lie.
Justin's throwing up over there.
So what's the number on that?
For what?
Whatever I just had you, I don't even know.
Oh no, I looked up something.
He's
different,
looking at
too.
porn over there. He doesn't
I
even know
know.
what you're talking
I
about.
was-
Like,
looking
this podcast has been going on an hour and a half now. Yeah. But
So right now we actually just broke a record for the podcast so far in its second. We've been going pretty long.
yeah.
Amazon doubled its profits during COVID.
It's
That's
doubled its profits.
Double.
Doubled.
That's insane. By the way, anybody that actually made it through this long to this podcast, doubling your profits is not normal.
No,
No.
especially during a pandemic.
My business would love to double their profits anytime. That's like, hey, throw a party, go to the Costa Rica, the entire company for
Yep.
the year, you know?
And that's a great point. Like, why is Walmart okay?
Double
But
their profits.
other-
Jesus Christ.
Other
Like,
places that could have
big.
curbside pickup, right?
Uh,
Like a flower
well,
shop, we can
Jeff,
have
I'll tell
curbside
you why.
pickup.
I will tell you why, Jeffrey. Because they're the big corporations that have the rich lobbyists that sit in D.C. and they're the
That's
ones.
correct, sir.
They're the exact reason why Nancy Pelosi is worth $200
Preach.
million.
Preach.
Because where do you think it comes from? Like these big corporations aren't going to be shut down. They're not going to let that happen.
Do you guys know what we need right now? Bubba Fett.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Just start
I-
slashing heads.
I am not kidding when I tell you I cannot wait to wear that helmet for the next.
Dude, I think there should be a mystery guest. Like, you know, I want to wear the helmet right now.
Well, you know what's funny? I talked to somebody and I can't say his name because I promised I wouldn't. But he was going to be a mystery guest and he was just going to sit here with the Boba Fett helmet on and really not say too much. But he can't because of what he does for work. But I thought that was the best thing since sliced bread to have him sitting here. No one knows who he is, and you know.
Jeff, can we end on something different?
Sure. Do we have to? Are we ending this?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Not a
well,
suggestion.
No, are you a sports fan?
You know, I know absolutely shit about sports.
You don't really?
No, my wife knows more about sports. So, funny story. My wife used to be a huge Red Sox fan, right?
Yeah.
We'd have the living room TV on, radio. You remember this? Radio's on throughout the house. You couldn't go anywhere in this house without something on with the Red Sox, right? And here I am. I don't know anything. We'd be at a party. She was talking Red Sox, talking sports with other guys, and I'm sitting here like, yeah. So how about them Patriots? I have no idea what you're talking about. It was embarrassing at certain points, and then when she had her brain injury, that went out the window. But that was embarrassing at times where she knew more about sports than me.
Yeah, but you know what? Sports brought people together.
It did.
Can you guys remember, Jeff, as much as you hated the Red Sox, or you didn't...
No, I'm a Red Sox fan.
Or
Yeah,
didn't
so,
pay
yeah.
attention,
Yep.
I bet you remember that first World Series. Like, who didn't?
Yeah.
You know, like, it was so fun. Me and Jeff were walking into a Red Sox game, given a password, you know, for a championship game to go to the Yankees game. I'm like, Jeff, we're getting ripped off. We hand some guy $100. I don't even know who he is.
His name is
And they let us in the game with no ticket. It was like a scam. Like, the guy just pocketed like $1,000. And yeah.
That was the most. So that was the game. Pedro Martinez threw down Zimmer. It was the most.
And I think
police
about
were
shit
there.
like that
Oh,
though, and I'm
so
like,
good.
you know, you think of sports, and I've used sports right now with youth sports just to kind of like quiet the noise of everything going down. Like, you know, my kids are playing baseball. They've been playing baseball. There's really nothing else to play. If you want to play soccer, you got to wear a mask. They're sweating with wet masks on their face. It sucks. They can't play football. You can't do this. And, you know, it's funny. When we first started baseball, it was stressful. It was like, kids got to separate. They got to do this. They got to do that. I kept my cool because I'm the head coach of the Little League. I'm not going to name where, and because I don't want to get in, like, do that. But, like, you know, and as things go along, it was like kids can't kids can't fist bump. They can't shake hands. They can't use the same bat. They can't do this. And it's like, how the hell?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we had a play. Kid gets thrown out to win the game. My center fielder throws a dart. Well, little kids, like 11, 12 years old. Throws a dart to the catcher. Boom. Makes the tag. They all run in. They're hugging. And this is in the, right, we just started baseball. And I'm like, I'm going to stop this? You know, I'm like, get out of here, man. And from that day on, the parents were like, this is great. Thank you. The kids are having a blast. And, like, they were locked up and freaking, like, staring at their Xboxes for 10 hours a day before that. You know? And I'm just like, you know, so it's been an outlet. Like, sports, for me, is an outlet. I think for my kids, it's been a little bit of an outlet, even though I think my kids have been in a different situation where they're out in the neighborhood since this started.
Sure.
Because we allowed them to.
Yep.
But,
Oh, thank God football's on.
yeah, it's I think it's an outlet for kids, and I think
It's an outlet for adults.
Yeah, and I think it's important for them to start letting these kids get out and doing stuff, man, because I firsthand see it with the young kids. Like, they're out there. They're seeing their friends. I couldn't believe it. My 12-year-old had his first sleepover. Now, we've had kids sleep at our house from the neighborhood. He slept at a friend's house who hasn't seen a single child. Literally, this is like 3 weeks ago. He didn't see nobody. Oh. And I'm like, holy crap, this kid must be like out in La La Land right now. And I'm like, but sports has been awesome. It's been fun, and fall ball's going to end soon, and then we hope that there's basketball. But yeah, it's got to come back, man. It's got to come back.
You know, I'm a hugger, and you guys know I always meet you guys with a hug.
You've been grabbing my leg all.
Well, that's different. That's
2
different.
hours.
Even to hug my mother, right? You know, since I lost my father, it's been that takes on a whole new different meaning with your parent. You know, it doesn't matter if it's your mother or your father, but when you lose a parent, you really start to have this different connection with your other parent that you didn't have at that level, right? And so I remember we were at my mother's house, and I was there with my 2 sisters, and one of my sisters went to go hug my mother, and she cried while she was hugging her, and that was moving because I was like, I want to hug my mom too, but I don't want to hurt her at the same time. Like, what if I have COVID? Because we don't know.
You don't know.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I can't wait to get back to hugging people and having that interaction because I'm a people person. I just love people. I want to be around people. I don't even care who you are, what color you are. I want to be around people. That's just how I am.
So I don't think you remember this, man, but I do because it's the Patriots. So the Patriots' first Super Bowl win against St. Louis. You were in the Azores, and you couldn't. So you had a bunch of.
I remember watching that game. I never showed up for work the next day. I had a little bit of trouble.
So you actually had a bunch of people over that night, and I remember when we were all holding hands.
Right, I remember that. Yeah,
I was holding hands.
Yeah,
we were all
yeah.
holding hands. We were texting with each other.
I ain't making it work.
I think all of it, and you know that's what's amazing about sports, is, man. It just does bring people together.
Yeah.
You don't even need to be there. You probably didn't even know who the kicker was.
Yeah, no, I don't know the kicker. You know, one of the funniest things I've ever seen about sports.
Adam Vinatieri. You should remember that.
Adam Vinatieri. I do know him. I know these guys, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So Justin, when he was small. Shout out to Chris Bordeaux. This is the second shout out in the podcast from yesterday, right? Who doesn't love that guy? So Justin videotaped him flipping out at a game, right? And I think we had just given him a cell phone, right? So he knows the drill. He's gonna videotape Uncle Chris, right? So a year down the road or so, he saves the video.
Yeah.
Chris is freaking out again. Justin takes another video of him, which is hilarious, by the way. Too bad you never saved those.
Nobody's more emotional than Bordeaux.
Yeah, and then Justin makes some kind of video of him, like a collage of it, right? I almost pissed myself. It was so funny.
That's awesome.
And he was rolling because he was like, "That this is the funniest thing I've ever done." You know.
You should hear him when they were doing the Trump trials.
Right.
He was like, when working for him, he was yelling at it like it was a sports game.
Bordeaux's a special
sports
person.
Man. It's fun. It's funny. I'm like, if you could separate the BS going on in sports right now and just kind of like get back to watching the games, I think it's important.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I married a woman that puts up with my love affinity of football because she knows like every weekend that Oklahoma's playing,
Yeah.
don't book anything, man.
Well, even my wife,
If
like,
there's a Patriots game,
you
bother.
do have a great wife. We absolutely love her. And when I wanted to start this podcast, when I lost my dad last year, it was like 3 days or so before he passed, and I sat down with him. I think I talked about this in the last podcast, but it's kind of important. So he said to me, "What do you want to do? Is there anything that you wanted to do that you haven't done yet?" And I said, I want to start a podcast. And he's like, "Well, what do you want to start that for?" So I told him, I said, people just hate each other, man. You could start seeing that. I mean, ever since Trump got elected, the hate has been just slowly ticking up. So he goes, "So what are you waiting for?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, it's expensive. If you do it right, you can do it cheap." And he goes, "You're going to make more money. What's your next excuse?" He goes, and he said something kind of funny. He's like, "I'm dying. I'll be dead in a couple of weeks, like literally." So, and he didn't know he was going to pass in a couple of days, but he goes, "So when are you going to start this podcast?" And I'm like, I don't know. And then one day I brought it up to my wife, and she's like, "You got to do it. If this makes you that happy, and you're gonna the ultimate goal is to bring people together, do it."
Yeah,
it's been fun.
Right?
I actually hope you get some people in here with different ideas, and that can really open up and talk and have an open conversation. So I hope it invites more people to come in and have that dialogue. But
yeah,
I was nervous coming.
I know you were. I know you were.
I was like, what do we do? How do we do? It's like, and you said, "Hey, Dave, you'll be surprised. Just go with the flow, man."
But Matt said something really important. If you show me your circle, and I'll show you success or something like that. He said. I have to go back and watch it, but it's true though, right? So our circle, right? And I don't get to see you as much as I'd like to, but when we get together, it's like we never left each other, right? Yeah. So same with Jeff. And if we can have other people come in and show what our circle, because we love people, right? We always have. And one of my most important times of my life, we're shared together. You know what I mean? Going to the clubs together.
Oh yeah.
We had some great times, man.
there's things that we can't talk about.
Right? And I'll shout out to Jerry Bordeaux every single day I can. The fact that he went away every weekend and we had the house to ourselves. But I'll tell you what, even as young as we were, we didn't break anything. We chilled out. No. Like we respected the fact that we had a place to go. And for me, it was a safe place for me, especially when my parents were getting divorced. So, it's really important for me to have you guys on first and get to, show the world what we're like.
Yeah, I mean, the way we grew up too, like our friends were, black, mulatto, Puerto Rican, but we never looked at each other that way.
We never paid attention to that.
We were just like, this is my moron brother. Yep. You know what I mean? That's just not, same blood.
This is the guy I get in trouble with every weekend.
You know what I mean? I looked at Griff, I looked at Tiggs, I looked at, Carl. Like, these are just like my boys.
And guys, I honestly, I really believe that that's the way it really is. And
absolutely
beyond some circumstances where people hate, you're never going to get rid of that.
Right.
To think that hate will just be gone is impossible, right?
Right.
You guys had that. I'm from a different era. I think you guys are, 4 or 5 years older than me, whatever it was. I had the same exact thing. My best friend is a Puerto Rican guy that grew up in the worst area in Springfield, and I hung out with his buddies in that neighborhood, and I didn't look at it as black and white and Puerto Rican or white. I didn't care, dude. They were fun. That's how I looked at it. I was having a good time, man. I didn't care who I was hanging out with, you know? And I didn't care where they came from or who their parents were. I didn't care. And I still don't. Right. It's like...
And that's the thing. I'm not going to let anybody force me to pick a side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm really blessed what I do for work, and I can't really get into what I do, but I am around a lot of different people. And that is... It just made me so much of a well-rounded person that I've experienced people at these levels that I've never experienced before. And it's so overwhelming in such a positive way that, and I've reached out to a lot of them and I'm like, hey, listen, I got this podcast. And they're like, I know. And I can't wait to be on it. So the support that I've gotten, like I said before, I don't want to see myself. I don't want to hear myself. I saw how fat I am when I watched the first one. I'm just like, who's that fat guy? But I think I have a great message. I think I have a tool to bring people together. And we talked about today,
it's a small tool, but
Exactly. Hung like a light switch. But we do have this option here of bringing people outside who have different views to be able to talk about it, and at the end of the day, shake hands and be like, I get why you got where you got. That's empowering as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we are at almost 2.5 hours.
Lord.
This is gonna have to be a part 1 and part 2.
That's what my wife says. She's like, you gotta have 2 parts. I'm like, we're going all the
And
way.
I'm going to explode. I need to use your bathroom.
That's where I'm at too right now. I'm at DEFCON 4, so
That's
I'm
why
glad you said
Jeff
something.
took a
So,
walk earlier. Jeff took a walk, man.
He
Yeah.
did?
Yeah,
What the hell did he? What do you mean he took a walk?
took a walk.
Oh, Jeff.
yeah.
Jeff's had one.
Yeah.
You only
So,
had one beer, dude.
I'm referring to myself in the third person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
He
bizarre.
confuses me when he talks about Jeff because I'm
Yeah.
like, where did I go?
So I knew this guy Jeff.
So here we are. We're all done.
I appreciate
So,
it, man.
Yeah.
I was a little bit nervous coming on. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It's a safe place, man.
It was fun, and again, guys, what I would say is challenge yourselves. Go look at things that are different.
Do the work.
Don't stay in your world, man. Go look at something else. I challenged myself again. I wasn't a go to the rally. I wanted to show my kids something different, and I thought it was a great teaching moment. So I challenge people to go do. I'd go to a Biden rally.
Yep.
Go see what it's all about.
You would be the only one there, but
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Too, but
And I talk about this a lot of times is be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? You can't experience being comfortable unless you're uncomfortable. So if that means going to support somebody who you normally wouldn't support, just the fact that you're just listening and bringing stuff into your head and kind of looking at it and then regurgitating it whatever way you want. I could care less. I really don't. But just like if you looked at my phone right now, you would see so many podcasts, so many different points of view because I mentally can't stay in one lane. I have to look at other people's opinions because a lot of times my opinion has changed, based on
But
information.
opinions do change in life. That's just the way life is
Yep.
because you're ever evolving, and that people just need to be able. I hope people do that. I hope people evolve. I hope I continue to evolve and have different opinions, and you learn things for life. Like I don't think the same way I did when I was 20. I was a maniac, man.
Right. That's like all
things
these
are-
people, these young people that are throwing out these awful words and these words of hate. And you will grow up. You will change. Like you said, you're forever evolving and hopefully for the better, right? And I think that's the process. Like that's the normal process that you keep growing, you keep changing, and you think about things a little differently. And I think that's healthy. So that's a great perspective.
Good
So
night, everybody.
with that, we are going to shut this down because I'm going to
Vega.
pee my pants. So
Vega.
as always, I want to thank you guys for supporting us and supporting the channel.
Royale with cheese.
Smash that like button, subscribe, and thank you very much for supporting me and all my guests that I have on. I greatly appreciate it. And as always,
Jeff has pooped his pants.
not yet, but I'm working on it.
Trump.
All right, guys, have a great night. We love you very much. Bye.